Can you guys hear me? Is this working? I actually have no idea if this is working right now. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Someone please tell me if this is working or not. According to Restream, okay, we have people. We have people talking. Good. Right. So let me chronicle before we get onto OpenTTD. Let me just chronicle what's happened over the last 24 hours. So around about this time yesterday, I did a complete shutdown and restart of my desktop. And the reason I did that was because after last week's palaver of the stream constantly buffering, I thought if I just shut down my PC, let it sit for an hour or two to cool down, gather its thoughts, and then switch it back on, maybe that will fix it. You know, it's like a reboot for everything. Evening, Andy. How are you doing? So yeah, I did that. Did the restart. All seemed fine. Set up the stream, as always. Got that working. Did a couple of other little bits here and there. Jumped on Minecraft for about 10 minutes just to see what was going on the XVI server. Started the stream. Did the intro. No drop frames. Nothing. All worked fine. Transitioned into the game. And then I dropped about 300 to 400 frames in the space of 2 seconds. And then you guys in the chat were starting to say it was buffering. So I checked OBS. Everything was working fine. It was streaming at a solid 12,000 kilobits per second. Checked my internet connection. That was all working fine. It was uploading at 12,000 kilobits per second. Then YouTube was saying that it wasn't receiving enough video, which to me sounds like a server problem, but I checked my connection again just to be sure. And it wasn't, nothing wrong at my end. So there's something between Restream servers and YouTube servers, and I think that's the reason why Twitch is constantly been going down as well. So there's something wrong with Restream, or the connection between OBS, Restream, and then the streaming platform, whichever one it is, whether it's YouTube or Twitch. So that's annoying. Tried to fix that. Nothing was working. So after I ended the stream yesterday, I did a speed test at my end, and my upload speed was 21.6, I think, megabits per second, which is, you know, 21.6 thousand kilobits per second, which is way, way, way higher than the bitrate I was streaming at. So there's nothing wrong there. But I did some Google searches, and one of the things, well, there's a couple of things, because I still have the issue of YouTube was telling me it wasn't receiving enough video, so that's bad. But the other thing is, one of the things it was telling me was if your internet speed, if your download speed is less than the upload speed of the stream, you will experience buffering. So I know there's been some people, even when my stream has been working fine at my end, there has been people, there's been times where people have complained about buffering. And unfortunately, there's not a lot I can do about that, I'm afraid, because it's upload to download speeds. So I stream normally at somewhere between 12 and 24,000 kilobits per second, which is between 12 and 24 megabits per second. So if your download speed is lower than either of those numbers, you will experience buffering. And there isn't a great deal I can do to actually fix that problem. And just as I'm looking at YouTube now, it's telling me it's buffering. And I am dropping frames massively. Let me try a hardware. Oh, and it's all starting again. I've 1,000 frames in the space of like 10 seconds. Yep, buffering now. If it buffers tonight, I'm just yeah, there's not a lot I can do. I'm just going to have to kill it. Just gonna have to kill it, and it probably take a break from streaming for a while I try and get this resolved. I've also reset the hub in our house today, the router. I reset that, switched that off for half an hour, switched it back on. So that's had a complete reboot. My PC's had a complete reboot. Lots of things have had complete reboots for me to try and get this fixed. I've tweaked every single setting on OBS to try and get that to work. I've done so many Google searches over the last sort of 24 hours to try and get that, to try and find a solution to that. And it gets to the point where even the experts on their blogs are saying there's nothing you can do. It's just something that happens from time to time. But I think after tonight, I know we've got stuff on the schedule to do over the next few episodes, and I think a lot of those are going to have to go back to videos, because this streaming malarkey it's killing me, basically, because everything that could possibly go wrong goes wrong. People don't talk, people don't show up to watch, people just leave halfway through a stream and don't say anything. Technical issues, whether it's software or hardware, buffering, whether it's you guys are buffering or I'm buffering. It's all going wrong, and streaming just isn't fun anymore. I enjoyed doing the 1K streams. I think that was the pinnacle. I think that was the peak. That was as good as it was ever going to get. Since then, it's just been a downhill slog. And it's the technical issues, really, that are driving me mad, because I guess that's one of the reasons why people aren't turning up now, is because they're expecting the stream to buffer. And I don't know what to do. My PC... I'll check my task manager right now. So currently, my CPU is operating at 18%, memory at 35, disk at 1, network at 2, and GPU somewhere between 20 and 50. So my PC isn't struggling. My PC is actually doing okay. It's the network, and I don't know which end of the network it can be, because my end seems fine. Internet connection is good. I can run a speed test right now, actually, and tell you the results. Let's have a look. Although now I've said that, this is actually quite low, this speed test. That's really low. That is not the numbers I was getting yesterday. Okay, maybe I should turn my stream down a little bit then and see if that's perhaps the problem. Yesterday I had 25 megabits download and 21 upload. Today it's telling me 3 and 8. That can't be right. Although saying that, I think the stream is actually having an effect, because I've just turned the settings down on OBS and now the download one has gone up and the upload has gone up as well. Yeah, okay, I think the stream affects the speed tests. Keep me posted though, guys. Keep me posted. And I apologise for the shit video quality, but I've had to turn the bitrate down. Right, OpenTTD time. Let's stop complaining. This will be, though, definitely this will be the last stream for a while, until I can get this fixed. Whether it's a new Ethernet cable, whether it's upgrading the router, whatever it might be. I'll have to look into it. So I apologise for that. Those of you that do enjoy the streams, I do apologise to you as well. But I think, in all honesty, I think this has been coming for a while. And it's about recognising when it's time and dealing with it then. So it's not the end of the series. It's not the end of the series. Next week will be a video rather than a stream. But the live streams, I love doing them when they work, but I hate doing them when they don't. And you'll see in a second, there's lots of things about this network that's starting to not work as expected now. So this is just one on the long list. Golfing Gamer, good evening. Good evening. Right, let's be positive. Let's be positive. Let's have a good stream with the technology we've got available to us. And then we'll talk about ideas for the rest of the network, because that's what today was meant to be. It's reviewing what we've done so far and planning for the future. Are you on both your accounts again, Tom? Crying out loud. Guard City. This is where we are. This is where we're at. This is the heartbeat of the entire M4J network. So currently we have all the main terminus stations. I'm going to try and remember word for word what I said yesterday, because I don't think anyone actually heard it because of the buffering. So we got the main station up here, GSG. This is the biggest station in Guard City. It has quite a lot of platforms. Can't remember exactly how many now. But it's got 4 conventional high-speed platforms, 5 conventional high-speed platforms. This one here is technically a mail and goods and food platform, but it's high-speed as well. 2 railjet platforms. So what's that? That's 7. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fast platforms, express platforms. So that's, what, 16? Then we've got 6 through platforms here, which is part of the Guard City Connect and Express franchises. So that takes us up to 22. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 terminus platforms here for Guard City Overground and also Guard City Great Northern commuter services. So that was what, 22 plus, was it 11 I said? So that's 33, and then 3 HLR platforms, so that's 36 platforms, which I think makes it one of the largest in the world as well in that respect. I think Munich has 34 platforms and is the second largest station in the world. I'm trying to remember what the largest is. It's probably somewhere like Japan or China. I know Sydney Central has quite a lot of platforms. Might be Sydney. Who knows? Anyway, GSG, which is the northern hub. It's also, as I said, part of the overground. It's one of the main overground hubs. The southern terminus of Guard City Great Northern and Grand Northern. It's also the Guard City end of the high-speed network. Loads of really cool stuff happens at GSG, and it's also got a very nice big metro station here, although the one over here at Halliday Circus is slightly bigger. But the one here at GSG is pretty big. It's got a huge bus hub and tram hub outside and an HLR station as well. Next up on the whistle stop clockwise tour, we've got Bartholomew Square. This is the southern end of the Capital Connect side of the Guard City Great Northern route. This is the Capital line. And this goes up and it eventually joins up with Plymouth Bridge Parkway, but it goes via a bit more of a roundabout route. It goes around the lake here. This needs a name, I think, this lake. Probably like Lindinghatton or Lay Hill Lake. One of those two. I thought there was a river that went through there as well. There's this one here that joins up, and there might even be an extension to that one that runs down here. I think the Grand Canal will link up somewhere around this way. So that's Bartholomew Square. Next up we've got GSJ, which is the western end of the Guard City Great Eastern franchise. It's also the Guard City end of the Trans Rapid network. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it, which is here. There's an HLR station here as well. There's another big bus and tram hub outside. Big metro station on the northern side as well. Again, I mentioned this yesterday, but I'll say it again. I rebuilt the platform using the Japanese platform set. I thought that was a good idea because the GSJ on the last map used this platform set, and I thought that would be quite nice. It reminds me a lot of Charing Cross, actually, this design. I quite like it. And as you can see, the station is full because we have a massive, massive problem with the Guard City Great Eastern franchise at the moment. So I have saved a version of this. In fact, you can see here where the problems lie. It's mostly over at Nut Hill, actually. Plus the HLR has some problems as well. So I've saved a version of the map called Scheduled Dispatch Issues, and I will be sending that over to JGR probably this weekend, just for him to take a look at and see if there is a fix for it. Grand Central, I think, is the largest. It has 44 platforms on 2 levels. Isn't there something they're building there to relieve congestion? Is it at Grand Central where the Long Island Railroad is being extended under the East River? I think that's at Grand Central. It might be at Penn. Can't remember. I think it's at Grand Central. So next up on the tour. So if we follow the metro, I keep calling it the metro. It's the Guard City Underground. If we keep following that round, we've got Leapside Station here. Then we've got Portstone Road, East Bank. I'm trying to remember all these names. And then right here, we've got GST, Guard City St. Thomas, which is a new station on this network. It didn't exist on previous maps. GST was added right back at the start of this map, in fact, way back when the Majeffries network was still very much a thing. Let me just open this up just so I can do a couple of little tweaks here and there. I don't like the fact that water could potentially flood in that gap, so I fill them in when I can. So GST, it's kind of a hub for the southern end of the Guard City Overground. You can see there's 4 terminating platforms. There's 2 through platforms as well, which do connect up via the GST viaduct over to GSJ, although because of the platform congestion I've got here at the moment, I don't think these bridges will get used very much. Maybe one service will continue to GSJ. And then we got this big junction just south of GST for New Rennington. These platforms here are for trains that will continue south on what used to be where is it? I always forget where it is. I think it's that's the freight line. This one over here. So this line here. Oh, there it is. So this set of lines here, this actually comes out of GSMA, which I'll tell you about in a second. But this line here from GST will also come over and join up to it. And then way down here, where it sort of curves here, there, and everywhere, we're going to completely reprofile this. So I think at this point here, it's going to bridge over the river and continue south in this kind of direction. And then do something somewhere. I don't know yet. We shall see about that. So that's New Rennington. It's not one of the major termini. In fact, nothing terminates here. It's all through platforms, but it's a big station, so I thought I'd add it on the list. Then we got GSMA, which is significantly bigger than it used to be at the start of the series. So when we first started, in fact, not the start of the series, but the start of the map, originally all of these platforms here, everything beyond, I think, this metro tunnel, this underground tunnel, I keep calling it metro, it's going to be a really hard habit to break out of. I think, yeah, where this shelter is here, I think that was the limit of GSMA in the past. And then we added this whole new set of platforms here when we added the New Rennington section here, and this eventually goes down to Bar City, which we will be showing at some point. I think it's a new tunnel into lower platforms. Long Island Railroad. Yeah, so the Long Island Railroad is being extended into Grand Central. It's a massive project. I've seen some videos of it. It is huge. If you actually look at the tunnels that are being built under Grand Central, it's basically like they've you know, like in Minecraft when you're digging underground and you stumble upon a massive ravine. That's basically what they've built right underneath a major terminus station in the middle of one of the biggest cities of the world. It is incredible what modern engineering can do. So these junctions here, south of GSMA, these have all changed significantly over the years. So originally it was the southern platforms here that would continue straight on, and they used to come down this way and through what is now this tunnel, and then it would link up with, it would go under the lines here, and then it would link up with New Rennington on this side. Since episode 20 something, I think it was, I actually changed it so the northern platforms now go up this way via GSMA. These platforms never existed before, they've been added, and then out this way and up to New Rennington. So GSMA is now part of the overground loop, whereas before it wasn't. I'm still not sure if that was the right decision or not. I do like the fact that it is part of the connection, but at the same time, it's made things a little bit tricky in terms of routing trains. It's not the end of the world though. We also got the big Shoreham Junction station down here as well, which is where a lot of interchanges happen. It's also currently the terminus of the Circle Line on the Guard City Underground. More on that in a second. Excuse me, I've given myself hiccups now. Follow the overground round. So we were following the underground. Now we're going to follow the overground. Although, a quick mention here of Bankside Station as well, which is the sort of it's the biggest station on the Guard City Underground network, and it's a major interchange. Pretty much every line runs through here. I think maybe 1 or 2 won't in the future, but at the moment it's planned that every line will run through here at some point on its journey. Then we come up here to GSP and GSMI. Now on previous maps these were one big combined station, whereas on here they are 2 separate stations, very close together, as you can see by the underground platforms, very very close together indeed. They are literally a walking distance, so there's no point in getting the underground between them. If you were to do this in real life, you could just walk, like cut through here, go down here, and then bang, you're in. So if you're getting maybe if you're getting an HLR train from here and you arrive on this platform here, it might be quicker to take the underground. But besides that, walk. Don't be lazy. get the exercise. So that's GSMI, which is the terminus of the western reaches north and south. And then we've got GSP here, which is the terminus of the Great Western franchise, which is currently held by George. We've also got the overground platforms here. We don't have any overground platforms at GSMI, although now I've got the ability to build bridges over station tiles. I might reroute the overground slightly so that it comes a bit more this way, and then build a new set of platforms here for GSMI overground, and then move the HLR platforms down slightly. That's sort of hearsay right now. Don't take that too literally, because I'm not 100% sure of it. I don't think it would work, first and foremost, but we'll see. I might have to tunnel the HLR here a little bit more. I won't do it if it doesn't make sense, because right now the GSP platforms are miles away from GSP. I wanted to make this an interchange, so a way of fixing that would be to move this a couple of tiles over. This junction here to go to Florentine Way, that would be reprofiled and changed slightly. It might even be split in two, so there might be a branch here that comes down across and then you won't go through GSP if you're going through Florentine Way. Same with this one, if you won't go to GSMI if you're going to Florentine Way. So this existing overground track will remain in place. I'll just remove this connecting junction here and have this as a Y junction rather than a triangular junction. That's probably the plan. So next up, if we jump back to the underground, skip through all of this bit here, we come to GSC, Guard City St. Christopher, which is another new station on this map. It didn't exist on the previous maps. This is the major overground hub. I know that GSG is currently the one that has the circle line, but all of the outer Guard City overground lines will terminate here at GSC. So the one that goes up to Bunhattan, for example, the ones that go to the airport, the only ones that won't come here are the ones that terminate at GST, which are sort of the southern overground lines. But there will be more overground lines added in the future, and they will predominantly come through GSC, which might have to be extended slightly, although I haven't really got much room because there's underground platforms either side of it. This is my favourite terminus in Guard City. It just fits the landscape perfectly. It's also the only one that's raised fully above the ground, because GSG technically is, but nothing really passes around it or underneath it apart from these HLR lines here. I don't think there's any road tunnels. There used to be before I extended the station here, but a lot of it is you kind of have to drive the long way around, and there's no connections to the north side. Whereas GSC, you've got the major road that tunnels under the side of it here. You've got the underground platforms either side. You've got a nice, really nice looking bus and tram hub out the front. Got a very nice station building, and it just fits. It just fits the landscape perfectly. Really, really, really like it. And then finally, in terms of terminus stations, we've got GSE, which is the newest terminus in Guard City. It's also one of the sort of out there ones. It's built sort of in the middle of nowhere, really. And again, I really like GSE. The underground platforms here could be changed slightly now with the being able to build bridges over, because this road bridge here looks a bit weird. Although I might just put some station tiles underneath there to sort of blend it in a little bit nicer. It's kind of like Waverley, Edinburgh Waverley, where there's a bridge that goes over the station building. This is also a terminus of the HLR, which pretty much goes everywhere now. We might as well call it the Guard City Light Railway, because it doesn't really go through. Only one or two lines now go through Hatfield, but it's a bit like the DLR in that respect. The DLR, very little of it these days actually goes through Docklands. The rest of it sort of goes through the city and up towards Stratford and places like that. This is the terminus of the West Winds commuter lines. So the lines that go up to Flame Junction, Dronnington and Tenfing Bridge, all the way up to Honningville, and I can't remember the name of the other station. That's really annoying. We've added some new lines to this recently, so I'm trying to remember what they're all called. We've also got Padwood Junction, which is one of the major interchanges on the West Winds commuter lines. And that is it for the major terminus stations here in Guard City. We have got some other big stations, of course, like up in the north side here. We've got Plint Bridge Parkway, which is an underground station. It might end up being the terminus. I haven't decided still. I was considering at one point extending this overground line to sort of come down here to Plint Bridge and then loop around this way, but I think I might just leave it as is. I think this is fine. We've also got some other, like Leyhill, which is a northern terminus here of the HLR. It's also got the capital line platforms here, and then we've got the overground platforms here. Other stations, Woodside, which is a terminus for one of the overgrounds. We got Renston interchange over here, which, I mean, you can see where some of the Great Eastern trains are queuing up here and how this might be a problem. Also, it's a terminus for the HLR and the underground, and you can see the HLR trains are also a little bit messy. If I unpause the game for a second. Basically, what's happening with scheduled dispatch is this train here is holding everything up. But if I go into this train's timetable, this isn't scheduled to leave until 1923, and it's currently 1859. So normally I would just do reset late counter, but I think for this one I'm just going to leave it as it is. Although saying that, I just want to check its stop time, because I haven't messed anything up there, have I? No, 1 minute. And then this one, which will end up blocking that one, I think is doing the same thing. Yeah, 1947. So I think I'll reset yours. So I want to know what that is. Is that the timetable auto-correcting itself or something? I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. All I know is it's annoying. Right, we're going to ride some trains now. I'm going to show you these different lines. I just want to fix this first because this bugs me. Major stations, the train should stop in the middle. There we go. So I believe this... In fact, let's come back to GSJ for a second. You. If I remember rightly, you are a Henninghall Junction train. Yes, you are. So we're going to follow this. Let's check its departure time first. 1913. Oh, that's fine. We can sit here for a few minutes and wait. We might have to queue at Renston, which could be a problem, so I might have to reset some late schedules just to clear up a platform for us to go into. But yeah, this is the issue I've been having. If I release a lot of trains at once, it seems to all clog up. If I release them one at a time, it runs smoothly for a little bit, and then it clogs up. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that, or how to fix it, which is kind of annoying. But yeah, what can you do? Grand Central unveiled its Class 90 for Blackpool. Ooh! Is it in the black with orange livery? Because I really like that livery. I really liked that livery on the HSTs. It looks alright on the 180s as well, but the HSTs, the original Grand Central livery as well on those HSTs just fitted it perfectly. Very good example of good livery design. So what we're going to do is we're going to ride this train along the slow lines. I think it just does jump across to the fast lines between Renston and... might be Renningbury or Pendingston. I can't remember which one. While we're riding along, we're just going to chat a little bit about what's being built on this line. This was the first main line that we built, the Great Eastern. We built it from GSJ down through Renston, through Renningbury, through Pendingston, down to Henninghall Junction. So we'll chat a little bit about the history of the line there. And while we're riding it, we'll come up with some ideas for what to do with it in the future as well. Because I think there's some cool things that we can do with it. I'm just going to check that the line is clear. Oh yeah, they're going through pretty quickly. Renston interchange is going to be expanded in the future. I think what I'm going to do is not have the Transrapid go through Renston. I'm going to just have it tunnel underneath. And build another interchange station somewhere further east. I don't actually know where this re-emerges. I think I've missed it. It's a bit confusing, all of this. Let's see, it goes into a tunnel there. Oh, it is this one. Yeah, that's going to change. Oh boy, that's going to change. That's ugly as hell. So yeah, GSJ was built using the Dutch station platform tiles. I decided after a while though that, well, like I said, I wanted it to resemble the old GSJ. I like doing little throwbacks here and there. I think there's nothing wrong with looking backwards to move forwards. And this was a good example and a good opportunity to actually do that. You can see here as well the trams are actually running properly. So that the trams are a good example of how scheduled dispatch should be working. They're very nicely spread. You can see they have some good meeting points as well, where two vehicles pass one another. You can kind of see, in fact there's another one here, that's good. You can kind of see how it all comes together and how it all works. I want the HLR to work that efficiently as well. And it's kind of annoying that it doesn't. So we've got to wait till 23 for this train to leave. This one, I don't know what's going to happen with this one. Yeah, 19:30 is your departure time, but then we don't arrive at Woodbridge until... How can it take 40 minutes to run between Goowood and Woodbridge? Does it just know that there's a problem there or something? I think because the time... Oh! Yeah. I know exactly what's happening. I need to reset you. I do need to reset you because it's starting to automate the timetable. So now it thinks it takes that long to go between the two stations, even though it doesn't. Yeah, let's get the chat going, guys. Let's get the chat going. It's in the GC livery. Okay. I actually want to see some pictures of that. I think that'll look pretty cool. So yeah, you should now be... Yeah, you've just disappeared off the face of the earth. Your timetable's gone. So your timetable has not yet started. I think that's a problem as well. Did you see the old Oak Common designs for High Speed 2? I saw some from a long time ago. If they've been updated since, then I haven't seen those. Yeah, everyone who's in the chat right now, I'd like to see at least one idea from all of you for future lines, future connections, future stations, that kind of thing. I've also got some questions. Oh wow, that drink was fizzier than I thought. I've also got some questions on Discord that some of you guys have been asking. Oh, I just saw that. I don't like that Class 90. That's a yellow stripe along the side, isn't it? That doesn't look very orange. Maybe it's just the camera, but that doesn't look like Grand Central orange. If you look at the Grand Central logo, the bit in the middle of that circle, that orange, that would look good along the side because it would match what they've got on the East Coast. That's just yellow. That's the same colour as the nose, which I'm not a huge fan of. It might grow on me. We'll see. Anyway, yes, Q&A. So the Q&A channel is still very much up and running on Discord. You can still ask questions for M4J Logistics, which is going up this week still. The video for that will be going up after this stream is finished. Well, I say after this stream's finished. The video is scheduled to go up at 8:30. We might have finished the stream by then. If not, you guys will just have to check it out afterwards anyway, because it will be up forever. There's also a very, very good XVI blog post going up this evening as well at 7 PM, and I can vouch for it being good because I'm the one who wrote it. So I'm probably being a bit big-headed there, but I like it. I thought it was good. It was written at 2 o'clock in the morning though, so some of the spelling might be a little bit I did proofread it as best as I could. Yeah, you are not sitting there until 10 o'clock. It's a bit ridiculous. I'm basically just killing time now until this train leaves, which is not too long from now. Have you fixed yourself? Yes, you have. Oh, yes, you have. That's good. Maybe I'm just going to have to monitor this for a little bit and make sure trains leave when they're supposed to. It's all just one big mess up, essentially. When you have lots of trains coming from lots of different directions, I think it will become an issue. One thing I need to do as well is take stations like this at Renston and work out what time trains will come from the Wonston loop and what time trains will come from the main line, and make sure that the two trains don't arrive at the exact same time. Sort of stagger them by a couple of minutes. So even if that means there's a longer waiting time here or up at Menhill or in this direction over here at Frunningston, just to make sure that there's no conflict there. Because I think at the moment I've got trains leaving depots, two different depots at different times, and there's no guarantee that they're going to cross over each other at the right times. So I'll have to check that. A new station at Worcester Parkway open this Sunday. Hopefully all the stations will be checking it out and I'll be able to watch the video of that. It looks nice though, I've seen some pictures of it. It does look like a very nice design. I really like modern station buildings where it's glass and steel. I'm not too fond of the modern brick designs. I think that, I don't know, it's classic, but it's not classic enough. Whereas glass and steel, they're basically just saying, we don't want to do the classic, we're just going to go for a good station design. And I do like that. Right, that HLR train is now leaving. These three are going to be sat here for eternity, I bet. So you're not even on the timetable, which is a problem. That's the other issue. Once the timetable disappears, like this one as well, it doesn't just sit here for 15 minutes and then leave. It sits here for like 3 hours and just doesn't move. Let's send these two off. Right, questions. So there was a few questions that were specifically for this stream, some of which have already been answered before. So what I will say is, if you are going to ask a question in the Q&A, I'm not expecting everyone to remember every single question that's ever been asked, but do try and check first that I haven't already answered your question. Because chances are I have. There's only so many times people can ask me what my favourite station in the UK is. And if I could rebuild any station in the world, where would it be and why? There's only so many times I could answer those questions. So try not to ask the same questions over and over again. Pretty much anything to do with favourite and least favourite as well. You know when you play 20 questions with someone and they ask you basically the same question that you asked them, and eventually you have to say, can you ask an original question please? That's basically where I'm at now. So don't just ask what's your favourite and what's your least favourite, because they're not particularly interesting questions to answer, and they're not really particularly interesting questions to hear the answer to either. Try and mix it up a little bit, be a bit more original. But we have had some good questions. So things like, if you could design a new station that currently doesn't exist nor is currently planned, where would it be, how many platforms, and what services would use it? That is a tricky one. I think what I would do, where the Varsity line, the new cross, is it cross? I can't remember what it's called now. The new line between Oxford and Cambridge, anyway. It used to be called the Varsity Line. Oh, the East-West link. That's what it's called. Where that is planned to cross the East Coast Main Line, and also where it's planned to cross the Midland Main Line. Basically, all the places where it has an interchange with a major line. So it starts. Let's assume it starts at Oxford and heads towards Cambridge. So to go from Oxford to Cambridge, it's got to cross the Chiltern Main Line, the West Coast Main Line at Bletchley, the Midland Main Line at Bedford, the East Coast Main Line at Sandy, I think is the plan, and then also the well, it will join up with Cambridge at Cambridge with the I can't remember what it's called now. The line that goes up towards Ely, and the Fens line, the line that goes up towards Ely and Kings Lynn and things like that. So I think all those interchanges, like Bedford already has technically an interchange, but especially at Sandy and also at Bletchley, I would rebuild those stations into like super hubs. So don't just have two platforms on the east-west link and then the normal platforms below. Actually have like 4 platforms above, and then maybe extend the station on the lower level as well, so that more trains can actually use it. And then instead of adding the east-west link to an existing franchise, have it as its own franchise. Call it east-west or west-east, whatever you want to call it, and actually have it as its own separate franchise, and award it to a new operator as well. I think that would be a good way to actually run that new line. Because, again, a lot of people have been complaining about the cost of it and whether it's actually worth it or not. But when you consider the possibility of, if you are in Oxford and you have to go to Cambridge, the amount of times you have to change trains along the journey, that in itself makes it worth it. And the history of Oxford and Cambridge as well, and the amount of people that do travel between one and the other, it definitely makes the journey worthwhile, in my opinion. Plus, it's not just between those two places. It's also a really good way of connecting all the main lines that run to the north without having to go in and out of London or up to Birmingham, or the really windy routes cross country. The Chinese State Railway claims it can build high speed 2 cheaper and within 5 years. Oh, no doubt, it probably could. I don't think it's worth looking into, though. So I think that's just shifting the cost onto someone else, and then we still have to pay the debt. So I'm not sure if that's a solution to the problem or not. So yeah, the other question was, if I could redesign an existing station that currently exists, what station would you redesign and why? What changes would you make to the station and why? I've answered that question about 4 or 5 times in the past, so I'm not going to answer it again now. But I mean, I ask you guys the same question, actually, because I've answered it. What about you guys? I know George has already answered it on the stream a few weeks ago when I answered it, but everyone who's watching this, comment down below. If you could design a new station that currently doesn't exist, where would it be? How many platforms and what services would it use? And also, if you had to, or if you could redesign an existing station that currently exists, either in the UK or wherever in the world you're located, what would it be and why? Okay, so that's Mason Way that we just shot through. That's only used by the Reningbury service, which will be remaining, actually, even when Guard City Connect takes over that line. There will be still one service, probably every 2 hours, that runs between GSJ and Reningbury. And then this is Brendington Indigo Junction, which is a very small station in terms of size. It's only 4 platforms, but in terms of sort of scale, it's massive, because it links the overground loop, which you can see the electrified lines right here, with the Great Eastern here. And there's also there will be, actually, it currently doesn't really exist, there's a massive bus hub that's being built here. We've also got Brendington Echo Junction here, which connects up with the HLR and another big bus hub. And then over here we've got I think it's Auburn Avenue it's called, but I might rename that Brendington Auburn Junction. So it's kind of the 3 Brendington Junction stations. This is my Willesden, basically, this area. IRL. Yes, in real life. So, I mean, you can answer them for the M4J network as well if you have ideas for how to rebuild them on here. Because, again, those of you that have downloaded the map and have played it, you might have rebuilt some stations. And I really want to see what you guys have done, if that's the case. Feel free to post some pictures and videos on the Discord of rebuilds that you've done. That's New Grudingbury Station we've just gone through, which is also connected to the HLR. Plus, they do not have our rules and regulations. Yeah, I mean, there's that. A lot of people do criticise China for that. I think there's also the fact that China can build high-speed railways at the rate that they do, because they're rich as hell right now. But also, there's very little in the way a lot of the time. So you look at some of the pictures of the latest projects they're building. There's a route they're building at the moment. It's not even high speed. It's just for coal transport. And they've got like a 14-mile viaduct that they've built. And the reason they've done that is because, A, they can afford it. That was Daningpool Bridge Station we just went through, which is an interchange with the east-west link. You can see it joining from the north there. A, they can afford it. B, They want to build a route that's as straight as possible and as flat as possible, a bit like Brunel did with the GWR. And C, China is one of the largest, is it the second or third largest country in the world? So they've got so much land mass that they can actually build in. You know, you could go for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles before you reach the next town, which is why high-speed rail has been built over there at the rate that it has, because it takes so long to travel between all these major cities in the country that high-speed rail is really the only option other than flying. So, I mean, there's that. The reason why High Speed 2 is so expensive is because every single woodland area has to be tunneled under now because all the wildlife activists kicked up a fuss. And I do believe in conservation, don't get me wrong. I do think it's important that we preserve as much life on the planet as possible. But the same people who want us to tunnel under the Chilterns are now the same people saying, why is the project £2 billion more expensive than it was before? And the answer is, because you made us tunnel under the Chilterns. It's a pain. It's a pain. There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer, and there's certainly no winning in this scenario. It's all one big loss at the moment. The XL Center could always use another DLR station. I'm assuming you're joking, because the XL Center has 3 DLR stations. Custom House being the main one. Yeah, we noticed that when we went there last. You've got Custom House, is it Royal Victoria? And then Albert Dock. I think they're the 3. Hang on, I'll check the map. It is. Royal Victoria is the one just before. Because there's a hotel there that I stayed at on my birthday once, so I know Royal Victoria. It's also the link to the cable car. Custom House, Prince Regent, and Royal Albert. They're the 3. So you've got one at the west end, one in the middle, and one at the east end. XL is huge. It's doubled in size since it was first built as well, so it's absolutely massive. Right, Renston Interchange we are sat at now. Because this is a big junction station, the train sits here for 2 minutes, I believe, instead of 1. I might change that again in the future, we'll see. Just knock it back down to 1 again. I would like to be able to do 0.5 for wait times rather than having to do it in whole numbers all the time. But I don't know how possible that is. I also think this train is ridiculously early again. Yeah, it's 46 minutes early. The timetables are all messed up for the HLR, so I'm going to have to fix those. I think I might have identified the problem with that now, though. I'd go for a new station at Sheffield Victoria, then reopen the Woodhead and have cross-city services from Manchester, Huddersfield, Leeds to Lincoln and Nottingham. How possible do you think it would be to have that as part of the Northern Powerhouse project? That'd be it, because currently the plan is to build a high-speed line between Liverpool and Leeds via Bradford. But I reckon, yeah, if they sort of utilise some of the old Woodhead route, that must save on costs, because the permanent way is mostly still there. It was a relatively... It wasn't flat. It wasn't a flat route at all, but that's not a problem with high-speed rail. It was a relatively straightforward route. All the infrastructure is still in place. The tunnels are still there. I'd put a low-level station at Birmingham New Street for cross-city route, relieving congestion in the main station, or just divert them to Moore Street and Snow Hill. I think Moore Street and Snow Hill are already at capacity, though, aren't they? And building Curzon Street right next to... Is it Snow Hill? It's going to be right next to? That's only going to make things worse, because more people are now going to be going there. I do like the idea of segregating. Having... Oh, please don't take that out of context. That doesn't sound right. I like the idea of splitting it so that they run on independent tracks. That would work better. Again, a bit like my plan for the East-West link. If you ran the East-West trains through Bletchley main station, that would probably cause more congestion and problems than if they had their own segregated platforms. New line to Sheffield was proposed, but it doesn't serve Sheffield Midland. Is that the one where they had like a massive viaduct going over a roundabout and the station was going to be built on that? Or was that Leeds? Might have been Leeds. Right, that was Kingston station we just stopped at. We are now roaring down to the southeast. I believe the next stop is Pendingston. Moore Street is getting 2 new platforms and the new curves. I just don't think that will fix the problem though. Because Moore Street is already quite busy because it's the terminus of most of the Chiltern trains. Snow Hill is kind of the commuter station. I think they really missed a trick when they rebuilt New Street. I think they could have done more to the actual platform layout and the lines coming in and out. And a platform 4 at Snow Hill. Yeah, Snow Hill only has 4 platforms and you're proposing redirecting a major commuter route through the middle of it. I just don't see that working. Don't see it working myself. Alrighty, switching back to the slow lines here, just north of Pendingston, so that we can stop at Pendingston. We weren't on the fast lines for very long. It's mainly to avoid some of the slower trains, the all-stoppers, for example, particularly the Reningbury train. This here is a connection with the line up to Bunhattan and Menhill City from GSMA, which is kind of a one train an hour commuter kind of thing. It's not going to be a very well utilised line. I might redirect some freight or something down here as well. Maybe have it as a connection so freight trains will run down this way and then connect up with the main line here, or at a new junction over here rather, and then have freight trains from the north come down through the junction towards Winston, go through Menhill, then come down this way and then down this way towards Lanning Way, and then it avoids having to go into Guard City and out again. Yeah, 2 years time, Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch. It's a bit like the Olympics though. I liked watching the Olympics in London, but I was more interested in the sort of infrastructure that was put in place for it. They did a really good job. It's probably one of the most well planned out transport projects in our history for the Olympics. It worked really, really well. And the absolute genius to build a shopping centre between Stratford International and the Olympic Park. So everyone going to and from the stadium had to walk through Westfield. That person should have got a medal. Crews getting level platforms for the Cardiff to Manchester service to provide platforms for high speed too. Again, good decision. Crews also getting an additional platform 13 on the independent lines and an extension to platform 5. Half of Crewe isn't even used these days, so bringing that back into use would be a good idea as well. Under phase 2A. Yeah. So 2A is the western link, isn't it? And then 2B is the connection to the Leeds. Alright, here's Reningbury. You can see one of the terminators sitting in the platform there. Like I said, the Guard City Connect services, I think it's going to be Woolworth to Reningbury via the Northern City line, which I still don't think that's going to be its proper name. Basically the line that goes between Guard City Rinston Airport and Renton Interchange, that line. That will have 1 an hour that terminates here at Reningbury. And then the trains out of GSJ will run every hour, but in the interim. So like if this train calls here at like 5 minutes past the hour, then the Guard City Connect train will be at 35 minutes past the hour. Try and spread them out evenly that way. But this is where I don't envy people that have to do the timetables, because I might be able to sync it up at this end, but then I've also got to sync it up at Woolworth so that it doesn't interfere with any of the trains there. And right now this is all M4J rail. So I'm in charge of all of these, well, apart from the Great Western. I'm in charge of the majority of these, so I can sort of plan it all out. Some of these operators might not have access to all of the timetabling sheets that other operators use. It must be a real logistical headache. And it must get worse when you realise you haven't got the rolling stock or your driver's called in sick. I would not want this job. Myself, I don't think I could hack it. Or I think I'd last 5 minutes before yelling at a customer who's giving me abuse. And that's why I don't want to work in retail. I can answer a couple more questions while we're waiting here. So there's some, I'm going to answer some of these. I think they were mainly for the Euro Truck videos, but I'll answer some of these here as well because they're kind of related to what we're doing right now. So in OpenTTD, what is the biggest unexpected financial loss you ever had? That was quite easy actually. Switching from the Jeffries network to the M4J network, where I sent all the trains to the depot and started all these lines again using the Realism Initiative. Rebuilding some of the stations and the lines, that was quite a big loss, which we never really recovered from, which is why I had to start using the money cheat. And then the other big one, the absolutely massive one, is if you pause the game for a long period of time. This is Letfield Station. If you pause the game for a prolonged period of time, or if you let your trains run for a long period of time and then you send them to the depot, they all get auto-renewed at the same time. And I mean, I could show you. Hopefully it's got some of it here. If you look at the new vehicles line and see some of these expenses, these are all auto-renews. I haven't bought new trains in a long time. These are all auto-renews. £845 million to replace some trains. It gets very expensive very quickly. Very expensive very quickly. And then the biggest unexpected financial gain. Sometimes if you send trains to be replaced, if you use the... not that one, this one. The replaced vehicles. This one here. Sometimes you might buy a vehicle that's cheaper than the one you've already got, and it actually refunds you the difference. So I did that with freight. Not right now in the M4J network, but in the Jeffries network. I replaced a lot of freight vehicles at the same time with ones that were... they had a higher capacity, but were actually cheaper. So I got a massive... it was like a tax rebate, basically. I got a massive refund on like 400 vehicles all at the same time. That was quite nice. Quite enjoyed that moment. I've also been asked about, did you ever play the original Transport Tycoon and Transport Tycoon Deluxe games? I've been asked that question about 500 times since I started the very first OpenTTD series. Yes. Simple answer, yes. I grew up playing Transport Tycoon Deluxe. Never played the original Transport Tycoon, but I did play Transport Tycoon Deluxe. And that was the game I probably played the most as a child. Even though Roller Coaster Tycoon was my favourite, I think because Transport Tycoon, you can just let it run in the background while you do other things. So I pretty much just had that game running all the time. There's another one here which I found quite interesting. In fact, there's two here that I found quite interesting. Question 154 on the list was, did you know that during the first few days of 2020, in order to be able to play certain games, you had to set your system clock back to 2019? I did not know that. I did not know that was a thing. I was quite surprised actually when I saw that question. I'd like to know which games they were actually, if there was a system issue or whether it was just, you know, the developers hadn't caught up yet. If anyone knows, feel free to tell me. This is Puntbourne Station, which we don't stop at here. You can see this line is probably the longest in terms of gaps between stations. You can go a really long time. I think this gap here coming up between Lendworth Falls and Lanningway, I think that is the longest gap between stations. Possibly on the entire network if you don't count high speed. Because in distance terms, high speed and Transrapid, the gap is huge. But in terms of time, I think these two here are the longest. Also between Puntbourne and I've forgotten the name of the station we called out just before, but that one too. That must be a pretty long gap. Plus we get quite a nice picturesque ride through the countryside here. That is going to change in the not too distant future when we build that new line that we planned out last week. But in the meantime, you know, it's nice to have the luxury of a nice woodland hillside journey. The other question which I thought was interesting and wanted to answer now is, what are some games you quit only because the developer started monetizing the game in ways you don't like? Now, one of the things that I'm most opposed to when it comes to video games is microtransactions. Whether it's mobile games, whether it's console games, PC games, I don't like microtransactions. And that might sound ironic, considering one of my favourite games to play at the moment is Rainbow Six Siege, which does have a store system built in. There's a microtransaction system built into the game. It's got its own currency as well. But the reason I don't have a problem with Siege is you can play the game just as well without using microtransactions. Since I bought the game, I haven't invested any extra money into it. And I've played the game perfectly fine. Sometimes you might want to unlock an operator a little bit earlier than planned, and you can do that by using the in-game store. But you can also play the game without needing to do that. It's not technically a pay-to-win system. Games like Fortnite also aren't a pay-to-win system. There are games like World of Tanks where you can buy better vehicles using microtransactions, and that is a pay-to-win system. And I think Call of Duty as well, you get access to more guns if you use the microtransactions. And I'm very much opposed to that. But one of the things I really don't like is the fact that Fortnite is technically a kids game, targeted towards kids, and yet they really push the microtransactions onto you. It's kind of a moral thing. I don't like microtransactions in games targeted at kids. I think that's wrong. And I think a bit like gambling laws now and advertising laws, everyone moans about copper, but it's there to protect kids, to restrict advertising on channels made specifically for kids, and also to restrict the comment section. You know, it is for protection at the end of the day, and you can't really complain about that. You just have to accept it. Because basically, if you're opposed to that, what you're basically saying is kids should fend for themselves, which I don't think is a particularly fair thing to do. So yeah, I Call of Duty was the one for me when they started bringing microtransactions in, and they've just lost all originality in my opinion, and that's when I kind of just switched off and thought, okay, this franchise is dead to me now. I've always had a problem with that sort of thing. I don't like games where whoever's got the biggest wallet is the winner. It used to be a test of skill, whereas now it's just a test of wealth. So I'm not a huge fan of that. And I'm fortunate that everyone at XVI isn't a huge fan of that. And none of our games will have that kind of system built in. We might sell DLC, we might sell skins here and there, but we won't ever put anything in the game that enhances your performance by how much money you've got. What making the fast lines miss going through them two stations? What do you mean, Frank? Not sure what you mean there. Moorside in Manchester is being closed for the foreseeable future due to a fire at the ticket hall. That's unfortunate. Hopefully they can get that back up and running soon. Let me just pause the game for a second and find out what this train is doing. I had a feeling we'd catch one after a while. Oh, you're leaving now anyway, that's fine. There it goes. See, that's the slow train. The DMUs are the slow train, and we're the fast train. So we're always going to catch up with it. Plus, I think Lanningway is another 2-minute stop time. Eva, welcome to the stream. Why do you have so little trains? So if you're not familiar with the M4J network, this is a network based on realism, heavily inspired by the UK rail network. So a lot of OpenTTD players, they do just flood a line with trains, which is fine. That's a perfectly good way of playing the game. But I tend to try and schedule my trains as if they were real, running on a real network in the real world. So there are less trains than what you'd expect, but at the same time, um, the service frequency is pretty much the same. Like, as I said, these two trains here, the one that we're following at Lanning Way and the one just ahead, they run the same route, GSJ to Henninghall Junction, but the one we're following is the faster train. The one in front of us is the slower train, stops at more stations. So you get that sort of more realistic service pattern. I think they're staggered as well, so these run every hour. Both trains run every hour, but at half hour. What's the way of explaining that? They're staggered. They're offset. So this train will leave on the hour, say, and then the slow train will leave on the half hour. So every 60 minutes, but at half past the hour or on the hour, depending on which train it is. So one thing that tells me is it takes about 30 minutes to go from GSJ to Lanning Way. At least in game time it does. Premium tanks in World of Tanks aren't better. In fact, I'd say many are bad for their tier. They give free experience, but you have to pay to use that on other tanks. They're mainly to train tank crews. Just standing up for my baby. I must admit, me, my brother and my dad were talking about microtransactions the other day, and I've never played World of Dad that mentioned this, because he used to play World of Tanks all the time, and he doesn't really play it much now, because what he said was they brought in like some special events, like Halloween they'd have a special tank, and Christmas they'd have a special tank, or whatever it might be. And he said there was one particular tank where normally it's speed and you've got power. Am I buffering again? Am I dropping frames? You have, like, is it speed and power, the two stats, or fire rate, something like that? And he said there were some tanks that just took the mickey. Like, they had an extortionately high speed for their fire rate, or whatever it was. And it wasn't really fair. And then, because those were hidden sections, if you bought that tank, you would then have a better vehicle than most other players in the game. Yeah, we're chasing signals here. I might have to delay this service a little bit more then. Are we back from buffering? Looks like we might be. Yeah, I think I dropped another 1,000 frames or so there in the space of a minute. Oh, we're going again. Bit rate again, see if that works. See if that fixes it. I don't have a problem with World of Tanks necessarily. It's just it's an example of a game where you can gain an advantage from using microtransactions, which is something I do think is a very morally murky area. Yeah, I agree with him on that. Special event tanks are not fair, to say the least. Yeah, I think those were the only ones he actually had a problem with. The rest of the game he said was fine. That's all it takes, though. It's just one thing like that. That's what did it for me with Call of Duty, is when it started getting all Titanfall, and you know, you wear an exosuit and you do wall jumping and things like that. And when you think of the name Call of Duty, it's a bit like Medal of Honor. It kind of has a fixed point in time that it's based on. So the Medal of Honor is a medal given in real life to soldiers who fight in wars and get commended for it. And the World War II setting for Call of Duty and Medal of Honor, because World War II, the phrase answering the Call of Duty was a thing. And then you start setting it in space, and you know, you give them robots and all that kind of thing, and it no longer feels like it feels like Mass Effect or Halo or something really futuristic, and it just doesn't, it loses its identity. And that's Advanced Warfare was the last Call of Duty game I played, and even now Warfare, even World War II, when they went and did that, it just didn't feel like a Call of Duty game anymore. And you know, I just switched off of that. I'm done. I'm not interested in that franchise anymore. Battlefield has sort of gone the same way again with Battlefield 5. Battlefield 1 I thought was a really... And then Battlefield 5, they kind of undid some of that again. Are we really buffering again? I got spinning wheels on all my screens right now. War games be outdated. Ha. I think I temporarily lost connection there. Yeah, I'm in the red zone on OBS. This is not good. I'm way below the bitrate. Dropping all the frames. This is bad. Well, apparently we're back. Let me check stream health. We went almost an hour with it working perfectly. Now it's gone back to being crap. Are we back? Wow. 4,000 frames it was just now. Now it's gone up to 12,000 frames. Okay, so this is Henning Hall Junction. This is where we'll hop off this train for now. It's got to wait for a platform anyway. So Henning Hall Junction, there's 6 platforms here on the slow lines. 2 terminating platforms and then 4 through platforms. And we've got 4 platforms here on the fast lines as well. This is where the tracks diverge. So this line here curves back up to the north towards Nut Hill City Centre. This line here continues south towards Denston Carnegie, which is where the cross-country hub is. Cross-network hub, I think it's actually called. Let me go back to what Frank just said, though. Where the line goes around about 270 degrees around a corner. Are you referring to this bit? Or up here, the 90-degree turn? It's buffering for me, but I'm downloading GTA 5. Ah, nice. Gonna be buying your cards, I hope. What making the fast lines miss going through them 2 stations? So these platforms here are on the outer lines, is that what you meant? So the slow lines are on the outside, the fast lines are in the middle. So the slow lines have the platforms on, the fast lines don't. This was a problem when I was doing the realism initiative because I wanted to keep both these stations. I didn't want to close one. So I had to do waypoints. I had to add waypoints here to slow the train. So I think it's 55 miles an hour it goes around here. Top speed of the line is 125. So we lose 70 miles an hour going around this corner. But, again, that's real life for you. I'm fine at the moment. Did it buffer for anyone? Or, because, you know, I had like red lights flashing, I had a klaxon go off, I had armed guards come in at one point. And yet, no one else has said anything. That's weird. Oh, that was a bit of game lag there as well. So these HSTs were all the ones that we saw right back at the start of the stream that were stuck at Denston. So GSJ in a second is going to be full of HSTs. And the fast lines in and out of GSJ are going to be full of HSTs. This is one that's just come out of the depot by the looks of it. So this is also one of the Henning Hall trains. There it is, Henning Hall Junction. Yeah, the HLR is still clogged. I'm going to have to send all these trains to the depot and start again. Like reboot everything. That's for all the HLR lines as well, because they're all clogged up. Right, let's hop on a GWR train next. He says. There was one here earlier. You're a metro train, aren't you? Oh no, you're an overground train. Damn it, there was one. No, there isn't. Yes, it is. Oh, so it is buffering. I'm so confused. Tell you what then, let's hop on a Western Reaches South train instead. This one, I believe, is going to take us all the way down to New Puston. Yes. It's a horrible name for a town, isn't it? New Puston. 1957. So in 12 minutes this train will leave. We've grown used to it. Oh, 2 seconds is fine. If it's a quick buffer for 2 seconds, that's quite normal on a live stream. We've grown used to it. I know Dylan's grown used to it. Again, it's one of those things of you guys as well run a speed test, because if I'm streaming at 12,000 kilobits per second and your download speed is only 10,000 kilobits per second, the stream will buffer for you. You know, that's something, like I said earlier, I can't really do much about that. Because ultimately I need to stream at the highest quality I can. Sometimes you might just have to watch the stream on a delay to give it more time to process. And it is annoying. I've been on the opposite end of that as well, where you've had to sort of downgrade to make things work, and it is annoying. Are you going to replace with Jubilees? Yeah? Should be. Is it just these vehicles haven't gone back to the depot yet or something? So yeah, we're going to be following the Western Reaches south now. So the Western Reaches north runs up towards Morningpool Falls, Sunnington, Wenfinfield Western, some of those big stations. Currently we don't have any trains running on those lines, although in the not too distant future I will be adding those. If we're going back to videos again for the next few weeks, I'll be doing a lot of route building now on screen, and I'll be doing a lot of train adding as a separate thing. Just wondering what that tram's doing. It looks like it's running through a... It's weird pathfinding. Oh, there we go. That one's just been turned into a Jubilee. So they are auto-renewing, it's just slow. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I'll be doing a lot of route building. So off camera, I'll be doing a lot of train timetable adding and stuff like that. So eventually all of these stations will become populated with all of the trains. And then the whole network will probably grind to a halt because one train is running 10 minutes behind its timetable. Because that's what happens when you do these things. Sometimes things break. But yeah, the Western Reaches south goes through arguably my favourite station on the entire network, which is Fort Flonwood Parkway, which is massive. You'll see it soon. It's a major interchange between east-west and north-south. It's the terminus for some of the cross-region services. It's also part of the cross-region line between Denston and Morningpool Falls. It's the sort of southwestern terminus of some of the commuter services out of GSMA. It's also a major station on the Western Reaches south, both for the slow and the fast lines. And it's also where the line from Buntbourne Parkway joins up, heading up towards Fort Flonwood Central, which we won't see yet. We might follow one of the Guard City Connect trains, one of the north-south ones that will take us down towards... Actually, no, we might just follow one of the cross-region trains that takes us through the Fort Flonwood stations. Response is 42 milliseconds, download 4.3 megabits per second, and 0.3 megabits per second upload. Yeah, that would be why it's buffering. That would explain why it's buffering. Let me run another speed test on my side. This isn't me flexing, by the way, because my hub can get a bit overloaded at times. Because again, if I'm streaming at 12 megabits per second and you're only downloading, what was it, 4? You know, that's a third loss, basically. My speed test won't even do the upload. Oh, there we go. So now it's claiming 12 megabits per second download. 8.1 megabits download, 12.3 upload. And 8 millisecond response time. So that's significantly faster than it was earlier. Shouldn't we have left by now? Oh, 57. I thought it was 47. Alright, we've still got time to kill. Tell you what then, while we're doing that, let's see if we can follow. Are you at the start of your journey? Yes, you are. Let's not do this one just yet. Let's do the Guard City Overground loop instead. We'll follow this train. So So this hopefully is setting off. Oh, you're setting off at 57 as well. Oh no. Okay, I've made my bed now. We'll have to lie in it. Problem is at our end. That might conclude our answer. That's one solution, but I was still getting warnings yesterday that YouTube wasn't receiving enough video, which isn't at your end. That's somewhere between my end and the servers. It's kind of like, imagine you're running a tap, and you attach a pipe to the tap, and then you split the pipe so that half the water goes left, half the water goes right. And then on the left side, you split that pipe again, and then on the right side, you split that pipe again. That's basically what bandwidth is. So you get a set bandwidth coming into your router, and then if you've got a laptop connected to it, that siphons off some of the bandwidth. And then if you have a games console that's also connected to the router, that siphons off some bandwidth. So you slowly whittle it down. So even when you do your speed test, like I'm streaming right now, my speed test is significantly lower because I'm streaming. So some of that response time in the upload and download is being taken up by the stream. When I did the test yesterday, I was in the 20s for download and upload, whereas now I'm barely breaking into the 10s. So there's something not right. Twitch could be a problem as well, because I'm not streaming to Twitch currently. Even though I'm still using Restream, I'm only streaming to YouTube, and it's running a lot smoother. So that could be an issue. The bitrate that OBS uses can also be an issue. There's lots of different things where it's not necessarily at my end and it's not necessarily at your end, but there's something in the middle, because it has to go through so many different locations, so many different cables, so many different servers. It probably does get held up a lot because of that. That's then the analogy of if you have a really, really long hose pipe and you keep putting kinks in it along the way, it slows down the flow of water so that by the time it reaches the nozzle, like 1 drop a minute might come out. And that's the stream. So when I stream directly to YouTube, it goes from my OBS on my desktop through my router into YouTube servers, wherever they might be, probably in London somewhere. And then you guys will watch it from that. When I stream from Restream, it goes into Restream's connection, then it goes into YouTube servers, whichever one they think is the best one. So I think when I ran the test yesterday, and the best server that Restream was suggesting I use was their Amsterdam one and not their London one. So my stream has to go all the way to Amsterdam, which it can do pretty quick, let's be honest. It travels at the speed of light at the end of the day. But then it has to go to the London YouTube servers or the Amsterdam YouTube servers, whichever one it deems to be the best. And then it has to go to you guys. And then Twitch was having to do the same thing. So I don't know if it's as simple as if I stream to YouTube and Twitch, then they're both having to share the same bandwidth, or whether, you know, YouTube might have to take half and Twitch might have to take half. I don't know how it works. I don't know enough about electrical and systems engineering to actually decide that. But it's a theory. It's a theory I've certainly have. All I know is it's a right pain in the arse when it doesn't work. If only one person says they're buffering, then I normally put it down to connection issues. But if more than one person says they're buffering, and if you're all in different parts of the country or even different parts of the world, then that's when I start getting worried, because it's either at my end or it's somewhere in between. And if it's at my end, I can sort of fix it. I can restart my PC, I can reset the router, that kind of thing. But if it's somewhere in the middle, I'm stuffed. I can't go to YouTube and tell them to reset their server because my stream's running slow. It's a pain. It's a pain. All I can do is apologise, because I know how annoying it is. And, you know, yesterday I was really looking forward to the stream, and it got whiffed. Today is a lot better. Yeah, I mean, after my stream failed last night, I went on Discord with the guys. We played Siege for a couple of hours, and then me and Sakif did a few missions on GTA. At no point did my game lag. Which I know is different, because a lot of that is download speed rather than upload speed. But, you know, I uploaded a couple of videos earlier today, and tonight's Euro Truck video is an hour long, and it uploaded in just over an hour and a half, which is really quick. For a 1080p hour-long video, that is really quick. But it is up there. You can go watch it. In fact, you can watch it in an hour's time. So my upload speed there was pretty fast. And because I uploaded 2 videos at the same time, they only really got half the upload time each. And they both uploaded in less than 2 hours. So anyone who knows computer science will probably tell me I'm wrong right now, but I have these theories. Does anyone have any questions or anything that I can answer in the next minute or so whilst we're waiting for this train to leave? This is another reason why we don't have many trains on the network right now, because the wait times at these stations are ridiculous. And in fact, just as we're about to depart, the next train that will run on the same route as us is about to arrive to pick up passengers. These stations get busy. That's why these are so big. You might think GSG is a massive station for OpenTTD, but when you actually see how many trains will call there within the space of like an hour, maybe, I reckon there's about 70 trains an hour will go through that station. Oh, XVI's latest blog post went up on time an hour ago. Let me just do my quick promotion. Oh. Just shut down Twitter. That was good. Alright, we're moving. So as we leave GSMI here, we'll switch onto the Western Reaches South slow lines. It's kind of, again, this station design could perhaps be made more efficient. Maybe refine it a little bit more, because at the moment the fast lines are all on the south side and the slow lines are all on the north side, but the junctions at the western end here are a little bit convoluted. They do work though, don't get me wrong, they do work. What's the dumbest thing someone has ever done in real life that you have seen? I swear someone's asked me this before. I knew a girl at uni who, she didn't call it the control key, she called it the citral. It's not like life-threatening or anything like that, but when you're a pedant like I am, I found that pretty infuriating. What else? I've seen people walk into doors, like glass doors. I've seen people walk into non-glass doors as well, which is even more stupid. There's some dumb things. There are some dumb things I've seen people do. I've seen car accidents where someone was completely at fault. Funnily enough, I'll always say this about Alex. He does some dumb things from time to time, but I'm in no position to criticise because I probably would do the same dumb things. Like, we all joke about how did he graduate uni, but then I also think, how did I graduate uni? Because I do some stupid things. I've done dumb things too. You know that thing where you can't find your phone, then you realise it's in your hand. I've actually done that. So I am in no position to judge. Right, first stop out of GSMI is right here at Little Praningwell. This is quite a big station, as you can see. Recently expanded. So there's 2 overground platforms, which are at the southern side. Then we've got 4 slow platforms on the Great Western Line. Then we've got 2 platforms on the Great Western Fast Line. Then we've got 6 platforms on the slow line of the Western Reaches South. And then currently we have no platforms on the fast lines, but I might add an island platform in the future. Even if it's not used ever. Just as a bit of eye candy. I suppose one of the dumb things Alex has done was we have a Facebook group for XVI. If you're not following it and you have Facebook, please do. And for ages he was talking about how there wasn't much activity on the Facebook page, and it turned out the wrong one. So there's that. If he was the social media guy, I'd be worried, but because that's me, I mean, I'm still worried that there's another Facebook, even though it is one of ours. It's an old one of ours. But yeah, probably should change that. Like, maybe get rid of it if we're not using. Yeah, he does try and kill people with EMPs on Siege. That's true. Oh, I've fallen into the red zone again, guys. Not good. In fact, it was so bad, I think Restream just lost the stream for a second. Where's the monitor? Let me get the stream monitor up. Well, it says I'm online still, so there's that. Where are we now? 737. Oh wow, my bit... Oh, hang on. My bit rate was quite high there. There was one point where it plummeted down to 800 kilobits per second. Ooh, that's bad. Alright, leaving Little Prawning Well. We're going to come up to probably the worst bit of this route, because I had to try and cram it into existing lines. So, yeah, we slow down to 60 miles an hour here. Basically, the story of the Western Reaches lines, north and south, is tilting technology was introduced on these lines. So they can navigate some of these tighter curves a little bit faster. So even though in real life the Stadler Kiss doesn't tilt, at least I don't think this variant does. Some variants might do. But yeah, in the story of this route, these trains can tilt, which is why they can operate at a slightly faster speed. And now this is where we start the gallop down towards Fort Flonwood. Alright, I think the stream's recovered. I thought it might have been because yesterday I was trying to watch the football on my laptop as well. And I've got nothing on my laptop at the moment. It's basically off. Here we are at Preefingfield East, which is also going to be an interchange with the Underground to the north end of the station and the Overground to the south end of the station. You can see both sets of lines there. Currently no trains run on those lines. They will in the future though. I want to get the Underground up and running actually. Now I know that the loop works, I want to get the other ones working too, to get all that going. And I kind of like the fact that 2 trains pass here as well. That's kind of cool. And as that one leaves, we'll leave again in a second. So I think from here, I think the next stop is Dinstown, which is the southern end of one of the Guard City Connect routes. It's also on the Fort Flonwood, Guard City to Fort Flonwood Joint Railway. It's on the Dintown branch, as you might expect. And it's also now the terminus of a branch line on the Great Western route, which you'll see. And then from there, actually I think it might be Funingly Reaches first, then I think it's Dintown. Or it might be the other way around. And then it's Fort Flonwood Parkway. Here we go. Oh, it is Dintown next. 100 miles an hour. We are rocketing down. There's the Guard City to Fort Flonwood joint that's just come into view there. These questions that people are asking in the chat and on Discord, if you have answers for them, if you have good stories, anecdotes that you want to tell, feel free to do so. Don't answer in the Q&A channel, answer it somewhere else. But I think that's a really good way of getting conversation going as well. Because it's all well and good that we all have similar interests in railways and transport, and we all just say, hey, have you seen the latest design for HS2? Oh yeah, that looks cool. But, you know, we can get to know each other as people as well. There's nothing wrong with that. It's probably my favourite bit of this route here, where the two lines just run next to each other. Because that does, maybe not quite this close, but it does happen in real life that two main lines might run parallel for a period. Yeah, this is the approach to Dintown Station. So you can see the Guard City Connect train is currently sitting in the southernmost bay platform. The northernmost bay platform is the branch line from Rudworth, I think it is. And then we've got the western reaches. There are platforms on the fast lines as well, but again, I'm not sure how many trains will actually call here. It is quite a big interchange in many respects though, so there'll probably be some. And we stop here for a minute to pick up passengers. I don't like the sound of those diesel engines rumbling in the background. It's actually quite annoying. I might turn the volume down a bit or turn it off completely at some point. There we go, that train is now leaving. So that one is the train that runs up to Guard City Punfingford Airport, which we will see shortly as we go past it. In fact, I think we'll take a train, probably the Warnbridge Airport service from GSG, that will run up through the airport. That airport's quite complicated though, so I'll explain that when we get there. Yeah, XVI should sell a shirt of Alex trying to kill someone with an EMP. Because unless it's Cade with his pacemaker, no one else really is going to be affected by it. And even then, canonically speaking, Cade doesn't have a pacemaker, but he's the oldest operator in the game, so... Alright, now we got the long reach. Ah, here we go, Funingly Reaches. So there's two stations in Funingly. Funingly Reaches is obviously on the Western Reaches line. And the other one, I think it's just Funingly. Might be Funingly North or South, something like that. I believe that's on the Tatham branch of the Guard City Fort Flonwood joint. Because that, of course, splits at Guard City Rinston Airport. I think I said Rinston earlier on the Great Western. It's not Rinston, it's Great Winfield on the Great Western route. I should know that really, because it's Great W. That's how I should remember it. But then, that'd be easy, wouldn't it? That's me scratching my beard, by the way. Kurt hates it when I do that. I have a beard. Sometimes it itches. What can I say? This is Funingly we're coming up to now. You can see where the other route crosses. This isn't an inch change. I thought it would be a bit dumb to have inch changes on both lines. Because, you know, the whole point of having these connections is it kind of forces you to use specific routes to go from A to B. And if you've got connections everywhere, then in many ways you saturate the market, but in other ways you might overcomplicate things a little bit. So here they're separate. Because Funingly... Oh, it's not Funingly, it's Funingbury. Why was I saying Funingly? I can't read. Funingbury Station has existed for a long time, so to build the new one just off to the east side here and call it Funingbury Reaches seemed to make more sense. Seen some savage parent texts. Yeah, my family don't really do that. We kind of all respect each other. I've seen some pretty savage ones though from other people. It can be really harsh. Alrighty, you can see the crossovers just to the south of us here as well. Again, for those who have forgotten, the top left corner of the screen is north. The bottom right corner of the screen is south. Then you can work out where east and west are. That's always the way I've done it. Some people do it differently, but that's always the way I've done it. But this is the Western Reaches South commuter depot that we're about to go past here. That's what these crossovers are for. So we're going to rocket past here at 100 miles an hour. I think we do slow down in a second for the corner just coming up here. It's also an opportunity there for trains to cross from the slow line to the fast line and vice versa. And then right here, here's the southern exit. And again, it was quite difficult to build this bit because of the big long curve that we've got here. I think I did alright though. There's a branch that comes off here as well that goes through to another part of Fort Flonwood Parkway, which you will see in a second. So that's kind of why that extra line has been built there. So right now we're about to cross what is arguably a very nice looking suspension bridge. Probably unrealistic in terms of the number of towers. I think in real life they'd rationalise the tower count a little bit more. "17 towers I've just counted. That is a lot. You could probably get that down to about 4. But there we go. We're going to rocket through here. You can see the branch line now. It goes through a couple of extra little towns along the way. And this is for, or that little branch line is for trains that will then go up towards Fort Flonwood Central. And then joining it, or just crossing over it where those two tunnels are, that's the line that goes down towards Buntbourne Parkway. And then Buntbourne Town and down towards Cadingbury and Munfingford and all those places. So this is Fort Flonwood Parkway. It's kind of built on a big loop on the third rail network, which are the southernmost platforms. But you've got is it six platforms, I believe, on the I think it might be 5 actually, on the slow lines of the Western Reaches South here. And then you've also got 6 platforms on the northern side for the fast trains on the Western Reaches South. You've also got the extra platforms on the southern end there for the third rail lines. I need to go through and re-electrify some of these platforms by the look of it, since I upgraded to BR tracks. And then on the sort of northwest corner there, where those extra platforms are, you've got all kinds of lines going through. So you've got ones that come from the Western Reaches South, from the east and the west. They're on the outer extremes. All the other platforms are third rail electrified, even though you can't see it right now. They will be in the future. And therefore, trains going from Guard City down towards Buntbourne and also down towards trying to remember the name of the stations now. There's a lot of them. Cadingbury and all those kind of things. It's a really long route, this one. It kind of goes west and then turns east when it gets to this point. Plus the cross region service also runs through here. Stops at Fort Flonwood Parkway and then very quickly, if I show you, runs up here to Fort Flonwood Central. Which we might be revisiting. We've also got Galen Junction here, even though the cross-region train actually turns off and heads this way towards Woolworth. So I think this train is due to sit here for 5 minutes or so. Where are we? 2016. Yeah, so another couple of minutes before we leave. So this route here, it all joins up. Oh, there's a cross-region train. I'll have to follow one of those in a minute. Oh wow, they're all queued up. Let me guess, your timetable's broken. I think your timetable's broken. Scheduled dispatch and all that. Yeah, big queue of trains. Haha. Oh dear. But yeah, this goes all the way along. You got some big stations along the way. So, got Gironam's Cross here. It's kind of a junction station now. You got lots of little stations all over the place here where trains go through. But if you keep following this line along, you eventually get to Buntbourne Parkway. And then if you come this way, this one heads towards Munfingford. This way heads towards Cadingbury. But just here, if you follow this line, this takes you down towards Drentbourne and eventually Bar City. So there's lots of routes that are starting to open up now on the network. I'm really happy with the number of connections that we're starting to build. I think it's really cool. So there's no trains that run to Munfingford right now. This line even has to be upgraded before that can be done. So this is Munfingford Paragon. This is one of the terminus stations of the Great Western. It's also going to be third rail electrified. This route will head down towards Plenborough Torina, which is one of the high-speed stations down on the south coast. I might show you that a little bit later on, actually. There's lots of stations we're going to have to visit like this because trains don't run there currently. There's so much of the network that still needs to be finished. I really need to pull my finger out and actually get on with it. Doing things on stream kind of works, but also it really slows down things. So a lot of this is probably going to have to be done off stream and off camera, even not even done in videos, just so I can actually get it done and ticked off. This is the Great Western Line. This heads up towards Plindon Junction, which we will be catching a train to shortly. This is a branch line down here as well. This is Marui City Centre. Central. And there'll be a little shuttle train that runs from here down to the 3rd rail station over here at Sledtown. This actually joins up with the Western Reaches South over at Portfield, which again you'll see shortly, and currently terminates down here at Charwood. One thing I was considering actually was having this as part of the Great Western route down as far as Charwood. That was something I was going to consult you on, in fact, George. Was a possibility of extending the GWR down as far as here. It depends how far down on the map it actually goes, because this is quite a long route, and I also have no idea right now how I would connect it up to the rest. Cause I guess here at Portfield it would run down this way, but then here I'd have to build another set of junctions, which I could do in fact, that just connect straight across. So HSTs would run straight down here and then up and over this and onwards. This is the Western Reaches South here, technically, from Fort Flom Parkway, which we'll be riding in a second. And this is the GWR down towards Munfingford. So there's a big junction right here. Freeham Junction. It's going to get quite busy. Lots of trains. We won't have anything that comes down this way, because this is, I guess this is the West Coast line at this point, but it joins up to become the Western Reaches South just here. And this heads up towards Plindon in a different way. So Plindon Junction is up here, and then this comes down and connects up like that. Let's follow this train. This is us leaving Fort Flonwood. So we'll be speeding up to 100 miles an hour again. I think it's 40 miles an hour. All the slow trains slow down to 40 miles an hour around junction stations. Just so, again, in real life, if there's lots of junctions that a train has to navigate, it'll be able to do it realistically. There's that cross-region train running through the fast lines there. We have lots of variations along this route. The network as a whole, sometimes we have the fast lines in the centre, sometimes we have the... Why have you stopped? Oh, because the platforms are full. Yeah, sometimes we have the fast lines in the centre, sometimes we have the fast lines off to one side and the slow lines running alongside. It all depends really. The Western Reaches South is mainly fast lines are paired and slow lines are paired, whereas I think the Western Reaches North has the slow lines straddling the fast lines. I'm happy for that to happen. Okay, we'll have to discuss that on Discord in the chat, because there's a few things, few ideas I've been having just to extend certain lines. I think I need to increase some of the route sizes without making them ridiculously big. Yeah, don't... I'm happy for you to do that, but don't make things up, if you know what I mean, and don't try and add more than what you've already got. Try and keep it within... I think Charwood is probably the best place. Charwood is basically like Worcester on the GWR network. It's kind of like off on its own little tangent. It's not really part of anything to do with GWR, but they do run trains there. So I think Charwood, particularly for the HSTs and the 180s, if we add those in the future, I think that's a good place to have them terminate. So where are we now? This is Sontbourne. So the next station after this, I think, is Sannington, not to be confused with Sunnington, which is in the northwest corner of the map. Sannington is where the GWR and the Western Reaches South interchange. So you see here as well, the slow lines and the fast lines have swapped sides. And that does happen a few times along this route as well, because where I've added extra lines to it in the past, I've always forgotten which side is the slow line and which side is the fast line. So I've had to constantly switch them over in order to make them match up. Plus, if you build two lines running south, where the fast lines are on the west side and the slow lines are on the east side, and then you turn them towards each other, you'll then realize that one suddenly is on the north and the other one's on the south when it comes to fast and slow. And that's basically what happened here. So I had to switch the slow lines onto the north side on the western reaches so that it would match up with what the GWR does. It's quite a big station. 4 platforms with 2 running lines through the middle. That's mainly so that the APTs that run the fast services on the western reaches can just zip straight through, and the HSTs that will turn off onto the GWR line can kind of get out of the way. I think even if HSTs don't stop at Sannington, I might still run them through the platforms just so that the faster trains can overtake. We'll see about that. That does happen a lot in the real world as well. Sometimes trains are directed onto slower tracks so that faster ones behind can overtake. I know there's a London Overground service that does that. I've moved upstairs, clearly. Fair dues. Is the connection any better up here, Tom, or is it still bad? Right, we should be leaving here. I think it's a 2-minute stopper again. These journeys are long. Imagine doing this in real life. If you live up in Gronwell, which is in the northeast corner, and you've got to travel to Sanley, which is in the southwest corner, probably take you the best part of a day to make that journey. I think this map is certainly taller than the UK, definitely wider, because the UK is quite narrow. The journey times can be ridiculously long. There will be, if the order limit allows me, there will be a service between Gronwell and Sanley. There may also be a service between Sunnington and, is it Pruntford, down in the southeast corner? And they will cross through Guard City. They'll use Guard Lake and those viaducts. So this is Portfield Station that we're approaching now. This is where the West Coast line joins up with the Western Reaches South. The West Coast line basically runs between here and Moningpool Falls. It will be part of the Western Reaches franchise, but it isn't a Western Reaches line. But yeah, while we're waiting for this train to continue, you've seen some of the routes so far. You've seen me talk about some of the stories behind these lines. Is there anything so far where you think that could be improved or more connections could be added? We have got the line that George suggested last week that goes between Tarnway and Funston and... I can't remember the name of the station. Is it... No. Proningworth Falls? Something like that, on the... right up at the north edge of the map. So there's that route. That connects up quite a few stations sort of in that central belt of the map. But is there anything else over here or over on the Great Eastern that you think could be improved? I think this is a 2-minute stopper as well here at Portfield. Anywhere there's an interchange, basically, we stop for 2 minutes instead of 1. There we go, we're moving again. So we cross over that very nice viaduct. And then we rocket south. Do we stop here at... Yeah, we stop at Freston. Preston, but with an F. That should be on their sign. Welcome to Freston. It's just Preston, but with an F. You can see quite a few people got off here, actually. The train was marginally full, heading towards Fort Flonwood. I think a lot of people changed. Warnbridge. wasn't Warnbridge, it was further east from Warnbridge. In fact, I think I could tell you what it is, because I think I named the route. It was... Oh, Walden Bridge. Is that what you meant? We've also got the Branningley Market to Retborough route, which did we build that? I think we might have built that one. Cadworth to Great Slunnington, which we've definitely built. Orpingbourne East Triangle. I can't even remember what that one is now. The South Coast Line, which we need to finish off. Guard City Canal, which I know we have finished. I need to clear out some of these as well. It's a bit ridiculous, really. Alright, leaving Freston. I think Puston is the next station. Yeah, New Puston. And that's the end of the line. At least so far. This route is speed limited all the way down to Stanley, so I will start running some APTs between Guard City and Stanley soon. Via Fort Flomwood Parkway, Kingdon-Hatton Airport Parkway, and some of the other stations that I can't remember the names of right now. Again, here you see the fast lines and the slow lines swap sides. Now this line, I'm trying to remember what this one is. Oh, this is the one that goes down towards Charwood, I think. This is New Puston Station here. Again, it's 6 platforms. The fast lines go straight through the middle. The slow lines go on the outside, left and right. It's a bit of a strange design station, this one, but it kind of makes sense. So there's terminating platforms on the north, the east and west sides. It's the second one in from each side. So here now, the train will stop here. Through trains will go on the outer platforms. And then this one, when it's ready to depart, it will reverse direction back up towards Guard City. This is the old Western Reaches line. You can see it kind of went around here a little bit, whereas the new one goes in a more of a direct line. And then Kingdon-Hatton Airport Parkway is down here. So in theory, this service could extend down there, but I kind of like it terminating at New Puston. And this is just an interchange, really. The airport is handy to have here, and there will be buses that take you to Kingdon-Hatton and some of the other neighbouring towns. I still plan on making a server with this game on, so that people can come in and help me do the road connections. Yeah, this route continues south all the way down. There's another interchange there at Tenley. And then there's another one here at Pufingford Promenade. And then here the slow lines actually divert off and go around the loop. The fast lines just go straight across here. And then you've got Contanda Crossover, which is a strange name for a station, but the crossover is just south of it. And then a little bit further down, and this is the approach to Sanley. And then this line here goes down towards Plenborough. This is the south coast line. Basically, it runs from Sanley here all the way over to Pruntford in the southeast corner via a reversal at Plenborough. This all needs to be re-electrified as well. To quickly scooch back up. Keep going, keep going. Keep going. So yeah, this is the Charwood route. Yeah. Because there's Sledtown. So this might become part of the GWR route. So Great Western trains will come down here through Portfield and then onwards. I think that's pretty cool. Right. I can hear some trains rumbling. Oh, we've got freight trains up here. This is one of the freight depots. This is the Monningpool Falls area freight depot, essentially. So all trains that go from Monningpool Falls, they start here and head across. What I need to do is find a GWR train. What is your plan for buses? Could people join the server and set up their own bus companies? Yeah, essentially. So one person will have the majority of Guard City and one person might have like miscellaneous routes in and around Guard City. So it'll work the same way as the rail franchises. You'll get given a region that you can build your bus lines in. Buses are a lot more, there's a lot more freedom involved. So you can have your own bus company that operates, say from here. Where is this? Gronston. Say someone got this region, so between Wenthingfield and Monningpool Falls essentially, and you can build bus lines from any of these towns, connect them all together, build roads, build highways, because the highway here already exists. I mean, this is Wenthingfield up here, which we will see shortly. But yeah, just to go nuts with it, essentially, to have their own freedom. It'll still be controlled, obviously. You know, I'll still have the final say. But I think buses and trucks and trams slightly less freedom because you do have to follow the track still. But buses, you know, in this area, even between Redtown and Fridingworth, you can just build all the bus lines you want as long as you're profitable. What might happen, because my company still has to make money, so I might build the bus stops and then you guys get to run the buses. So you would pay me a fraction of your profits to use the route, essentially. I think that's how it would work. Yeah, this is Monningpool Falls. This is one of the major stations on the Western Reaches North. This junction here will get rationalised. It will be tidied up a little bit more. This is the terminus. There's GWR trains that terminate here, and there's also the cross-region service from Denston that also terminates here. In fact, we might even see it arrive soon, depending on whether it's back on time or not. I think that's it, isn't it? Great West. Oh, West Coast trains might also use this station up from Sunnington down. Sunnington station itself is all the way up here. This is the terminus of several routes. So trains from Sanley right down in the southwest, they'll terminate up here. I think that'll be a Western Reaches service. It might just be a West Coast service. We'll see. But we also will have Western Reaches North trains from GSMI. They will terminate here. We've also got the North Valleys route, which is this one here. That runs down towards Beffingway and Warnbridge Airport along the north coast. They terminate at Sunnington. We also have West Winds trains, which use these sets of lines here. They will also terminate here. And we've also got cross-country trains that will use this route here. They'll also terminate in Sunnington. So it's going to be a very, very busy station. Very busy. That's why it's as big as it is, because Sunnington itself is quite a small town, but there's going to be lots and lots of trains coming in and out of here, which is why it's a massive station. Right, let's head back to Guard City. Head up to GSG, because I want to follow this one, I think it is. Are you the one I'm looking for? The one that runs up to Warnbridge? Yes. When are you due to leave? 2050. Okay, 19 minutes. How can we waste time for 19 minutes while this gets ready to leave? So which one are you? You must be... You're not even on here yet. So yeah, this is starting to work itself out. If I go back over to GSJ, this is also kind of working itself out. It's over here at Nut Hill that's the problem. It's trains queuing to use some of these. In fact, are you... waiting for one of the terminus platforms? Yes, you are. So this station will all get rebuilt in the future. These bay platforms will become through platforms, and basically all of these platforms will be accessible from the north and the south. And that's so that this kind of situation doesn't happen, because right now trains that return to the north can only use these 3 bay platforms, and this is where the problems are. And I'm also wondering, you go to Guard City, don't you? You go to GSJ. Yes, you do. How often do you run? Is it every half hour? Yeah, I think we got to change this so it's just every hour instead of half hour. So I might remove the 14s, because then that essentially halves the number of trains that come through here every day, or at least on this route it halves them. there's obviously all the other ones still. So it probably, I think there's 3 services that terminate here at the moment, so it reduces it by about a third. Or maybe a sixth. Is it half of a third? It's been so long since I did fractions. We might add a 2244 as well, just to make that a bit more even. Right, that should help things a little bit. But yeah, it's not just buses. It'll be ships as well. So if I go back to... Let's take the fast way back. Oh, I'll show you this as well. This is Lakeside Train Care. We've got north and south. This was the home of the Garden City Great Eastern franchise. But a lot of that now is actually... If I take the fast route back, a lot of that has now been moved up to this new facility up here, which is... It's called Kilo Sub, because that was meant to celebrate me hitting 1,000 subs. But I think that's going to change because that's an awful name. Let's be honest, that's a pretty shit name. So that will change. If you've got any suggestions for the name for that, make it slightly relevant to 1,000 subs, but don't call it Kilo Sub because it's not my best work. But yeah, so this is where the majority, of the the Guard City trains, the ones that start and end at GSJ, the HSTs will get moved down here as well. Just so that it doesn't have to run all the way from Lakeside down through here. Because it seemed like a good idea at the time, but in actuality it's a bit of a pain. Oh, I see this is clogged up again. I'm just going to ignore it. It doesn't exist. You didn't see it. But yeah, as well as buses, we've got all of these piers down here in Docklands. We've also got some piers. Where are they? There's one there at Menpool. I think there's one. That's not one. I thought there was another one somewhere. The ones here at GSJ, I've used a bit of eye candy to make them look a little bit nicer. There's also one down here at GSP. Here. Although I might get rid of the GSP one. Or at least not have it connected to GSP. Because there are lots of ways now to get from GSJ to GSP. And I don't think boat should be one of them. But Guard Lake up here also has a nice connection. And then there's one down here as well, which is Tainhoser. Bankside, I think, has... Yeah, Bankside has a pier. So if you want to run water boats, water buses, water taxis in Guard City, you can do so. If you want to run your own cargo ships, you can do so. And also, if we head over to one of the airports, let's go to Great Winfield. If you want to run your own airline, you can. So you would have a hub airport. So in this case, you would operate out of Great Winfield. So all of your flights have to start or end at Great Winfield, whether it's this terminal or this terminal. Although even then, most airlines, even if they have a hub airport, they have a specific terminal. So like British Airways does operate from most of the terminals at Heathrow, but Terminal 5 is their sort of hub terminal. It's where most of their flights go from. It was built specially for them at the end of the day. So you would probably have, depending on whether you're a large airline or a small airline, you'd have the West Terminal or the East Terminal. Most of the major airports that I've built have more than one terminal, even though they're technically separate airports. They are linked together by train or by bus, whatever it might be. And yeah, you can operate your own airlines. You can have flights from here to Bar City, or from here down to Kington, or from here up to Warnbridge, whatever it might be. You'll be able to do that as well. With these ones, I will own all the airports and all the heliports, and you would pay to use them. So just like in real life, you'd have landing charges, is what they're called in real life. Whereas in the game, it'll be a really small token amount, just so I make money from the running cost of the airport. Kilo Park is a good name. I actually quite like that name. Where am I? Up here. This is a train going back to the depot as well, by the looks of it. Have you had a look at Transport Fever 2? They are really shaping that franchise with every game. Do you think you'll wait till the next one, or are you not bothered about it? I have Transport Fever, and there still isn't enough in Transport Fever 2 yet that makes it feel like a worthwhile purchase. I do like the franchise, though. I think Train Fever was good. I thought Train Fever was really good. Transport Fever, I think what I liked the most about Train Fever was it combined all of my sort of favourite aspects of all of these games. So it had scheduling like Cities in Motion 2. It had sort of the infrastructure like OpenTTD. And it had a few other things inspired by City Skylines. So like the city building aspect, the fact you could build roads and stuff like that. It felt really, really good. But there was obviously stuff that was missing. Where's my cursor gone? And then Transport Fever came out, and they added airports and they added ships, and it was a real step up from Train Fever, which was just trains and road vehicles. But the new one, Transport Fever 2, kind of feels like it's a shell of a game at the moment. So it's like Transport Fever 1.5, but they are adding more features to it constantly. So eventually it will feel enough of a sequel for me to buy it. But I do like it. I do keep an eye on it. Did I... Train care. There we go. Kilo Park Train Care. But yeah, that game will come on the channel at some point in the future. I can call that now. Maybe when another series dies down. I don't want to end OpenTTD is the thing. I enjoy doing this. And I think Transport Fever does feel a little bit similar to OpenTTD, but you know, you can run both. There's nothing wrong with that. Managed to get past the 60s and 70s. It's a great game. I love it. Shinkansen saved me in 1964. Just like it did the Japanese in real life. Okay. I saw your question, Ben, in Discord. I'll answer it here. Why not? What would be the worst possible job you could get? Thinking personally and physically. So personally, I'd hate to be Alex's secretary. I don't know. I mean, sometimes secretaries are the reason why businesses run smoothly, because they have to, like, everything goes through them. Physically, food taster wouldn't be a good shout for you. Food taster would be, but yeah, like tester, not so much. If you don't know what that's about, go back and watch the 1K streams, because I talk about it more there. Jobs I would hate to do. I'd hate to work in retail because like my brother worked in retail for a while, and my mum kind of works in retail. She works in a library, and I hear some of the stories, and I just think I wouldn't last 5 minutes without shouting at someone. Like, I call people idiots at the best of times. Can you imagine if I was working in retail and I called someone an idiot? Even though they are idiots, let's be honest, a lot of people who abuse retail workers are idiots. So there's that. I wouldn't be able to do that. Physically speaking, I think professional football. I wouldn't like jobs where I'm just stuck in the same place all the time as well. Sometimes I get that. Like, content creation is a really bad job if you're someone who likes to be on the move all the time, because you basically have to sit at a desk all day. But the XVI stuff allows me to go out and meet new people and chat, and you know, it's a nice balance. It is a really nice balance. Use the existing network though to run the Shinkansen. Huge surge in passengers and dedicated commuter and intercity routes save many routes. That's good then. My mum works in a shop. Yeah. Just I don't understand people when it comes to retail. Like, shops, companies have policies for a reason. And people always blame the staff as if it's their fault. Like Geraldine in accounting one day just decided to change the rules just to spite the person who was next to walk through the door. And that's not how it works at all. You know, a lot of the time it's people con businesses. So businesses change their policies to try and counter it. And then as soon as the con man or woman finds out the policies have changed, they lose their rag with the poor bastard who had to tell them. So I wouldn't last 5 minutes before I'd shout back at someone, and I know I'd be fired instantly. But do you know what? I probably wouldn't care. I'd probably quit before that happened anyway. I just don't think I'm cut out for that kind of work. I have a lot of respect for people who work retail. It is not an easy job. Working on station platforms is fun. Do you know, just for a day, I would love to be a platform dispatcher. That sounds like a really, really fun job to do. because you must get to meet a lot of people and chat to them. Plus, you're in charge of a train, essentially. You're in charge of a station, even. That little section is yours. Alright, so the Puntingford Express is just leaving. What time will we due out? 2050. Oh, wow, we've still got 7 minutes. I might reduce the waiting times at these platforms, because we have like 6 more services to introduce to here, and you can see three of the platforms were already full. So that's half of it gone. I'd like to be one of those, those celebrities where they host documentaries where they do a different job each week. Rod Gilbert's work experience springs to mind. That would be a fun job, because your job essentially is just to do lots of different jobs randomly each week and be recorded doing it. That is your job. My dream job is working at York Control Centre. It's a good one. The entirety of the East Coast Main Line would be in your hands. If you can hack through the computer system, that is. Please don't do that. I always loved, if you've ever played Sid Meier's Railroads, there's the cutscene at the start where it's like him playing with a model railway layout, and then it just slowly like ramps up until eventually he's looking out of his office window at this massive network he's built. I want to be the guy who sits in that office looking out the window. What are you doing? Oh, you're waiting there. Why are you waiting there? What is it doing? It's still waiting at waypoints. I thought that was a bit odd. Go to GSG, damn it. But yeah, I want to be the kind of person who can sit in their office and look out at something that they've built. So, Global Ventures, at the moment, it's a virtual theme park. Doesn't really exist. But the plan is, hopefully one day, to build something like it. Like a modern Walt Disney, I always used to say. But I don't think, again, being realistic here, I don't think it will ever happen. I think that time has gone. That ship has sailed. But wouldn't it be awesome if that was possible? Oh yeah, St. George would hate me. Of course they do. Where is St. George? There it is. Can I bribe you? I think this is what happened last time, was I tried to bribe them and I got caught. There we go. But yeah, to have Global Ventures be a real thing, and for me to be able to sit in an office and look out the window across the park. So imagine if you are watching the videos at the moment, the office would probably be in the entrance building, the big entrance building, which is probably going to be a hotel. I'm trying to avoid that stereotype, but it's probably going to be how it goes. But to have my office right at the very tippy top of that, and just to be able to sit there and look out across the entire park, that'll be a "I've made it, Mum" moment. Just read the new Newport CAF plant officially opened today. Oh, nice. How many train orders do CAF actually have in the UK now? Because all the northern units are pretty much done. Are they building units for TFW? They probably are. And then there's I know there's one other one. Is it West Midlands? I've also ordered some trains from there. They've not got many orders. I actually read in my magazine the other day as well that Hitachi are going to have to lay off 250 staff members soon because the orders have dried up. Because basically, once they've done the Avanti trains, that's it. There's nothing left. Now, again, I've said for a long time now that if a new train comes on the market and every company buys it, it's great for that sort of 5-6 year period. But once that's done, You know, these companies are building factories here in the UK and hiring thousands of people to run them and build them. But once they're done and the trains have been built, there's no need for them anymore. So suddenly, it's kind of like in city skylines when you first start out. If you build a huge residential area, everyone moves in at the same time, and then a few in-game years later, there's a huge death wave where they all, because they're all the same generations, they all start dying off at the same time. That's what's happening in the rail industry. These huge factories get built for these huge orders, but then once the orders are done, there's no reason for that factory to exist anymore. So hundreds of people lose their job. West Midland Railway, or West Midland Trains, West Midland Railway, whichever it is, TFW and Northern. So yeah, they're almost done. And there's no new franchise awards where there's new trains on order. Not from CAF anyway, there are other ones from other companies. But that factory has only just been finished, and I think in 5 years' time there'll be no reason for it to exist anymore. That's kind of sad. And these big companies don't necessarily care. They'll just move on to the next thing. Also heard Alstom want to take Bombardier. I thought Alstom didn't exist anymore. That can't be right, because they built the AGVs, didn't they? I can't believe... I know Washford Heath still exists. Washford Heath. I'm getting all my names wrong now. I know Washford Heath Depot still exists. But I can't believe that Alstom left the UK. Was it 2006? They packed up? Considering the Pendolinos even now are still going. Doesn't really make sense as a business decision. I'm clicking all the wrong things now as well. I think we'll follow this train up to Warnbridge, and then we'll have a little chat about future plans as well. So again, if you've got ideas for routes, if you've got the game open in front of you right now, have a look, see if there's any routes that you'd want to see added, and let me know in the comment section, or let me know in the chat even. So this map, as of episode 50, will be going up on my website over the weekend, and this will be the last updated map for a while. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, this is a good chance to get the latest version of the map. Washford Heath closed, didn't it? It's being used for high speed too. Oh, it might have closed recently, but it still existed as a maintenance depot after Alstom left. Alstom's last order was 2012, wasn't it, with the extra Pendos? Yeah, they weren't built here. They were built... because Washford Heath is where the Pendolinos, the original ones, were assembled. I don't think that... it's a bit like what Hitachi do. They build the body shells and things in Italy and then ship them over. Although Newton Aycliffe is supposedly getting upgraded soon so that it can build trains from scratch. It's being expanded. Which again seems a bit short-sighted considering they're talking about sacking 250 people sort of next year or the year after. Right, we are departing GSG. We're crossing over. This has all changed a lot since the original was built as well. The high-speed platforms are always part of the original design, even though they weren't utilised for quite a long time. And actually, when I built the station, the high-speed platforms were always there, but the high-speed route in and out wasn't, and it was just by pure chance really that the space was there to add those 4 lines underground. Otherwise I'd have really struggled to get the high-speed lines in and out, because the HLR came in before the high-speed route was connected up as well. So that was nearly game over for those. I would have had to have converted those back to regular platforms. But the slow platforms actually used to be on the east side of the through platforms. The through platforms used to be the western limit of the station, and basically the slow trains shared the roof space, the roofed platforms with the fast trains, but that wasn't very feasible after a while, so I had to build the extension where now the overground and commuter platforms are. It was kind of a tacking Broad Street onto Liverpool Street job. I think it works. I think it looks quite nice. we lost Halliday Circus, the actual town. You see, it currently has a population of 0 because all the buildings got built on. Once you destroy, there's always a road piece. It tends to be directly underneath the name of the town. There's always a road piece, and if you destroy that road piece, it's like removing the keystone from an arch, so that it all falls in on itself. I think if you replace the road piece, it will all grow back again. But that tends to be what a town is built around. So you can have a town with no buildings, and it will regrow so long as it has that road piece. Yeah, this is probably the most built up area in terms of rail. There's so much rail here. Guard City North Freight Terminal just disappearing off in the bottom right corner there. That's going to get rebuilt in the future, make it a little bit better. It's a bit messy at the moment because again, it was kind of built in stages, and in each stage I never really made it more efficient. I just added more stuff onto it all the time. There's the high-speed lines alongside. They emerge very briefly here before tumbling back down underground. Some more junctions here as well. That's all going to be tidied up. The overground loop passes underneath us here. And then we cross up and over the entrance to Plintbridge Common Depot, which is actually going to be changed. Currently, it runs north to south along the line of the old high-speed depot that used to be here. But I'm gonna keep these sheds here, but the main depot is actually going to run this way. So a lot of this townscape here is going to be destroyed or demolished, so I could build the depot here, because Plintbridge Common is this big green space here. So this is going to be Plintbridge Common Underground Station, and then it makes more sense. It's a bit like Regent's Park in that respect, where it's a big green area in Hyde Park as well. So this can be Plintbridge Common, and this down here can also be Plintbridge Common, because it's all one big open space. We need more green areas in Guard City. We don't have much of that at the moment. I might use the eye candy tool to actually go into some areas of Guard City and make some little parks. Might involve renaming some bus stops to match that as well. But again, this is an interchange station, Plintbridge Parkway. It's where the underground meets the main line. It's also, this is heavily based on Finsbury Park, so it's where the Capital Line rejoins the Guard City Great Northern route. It's also where the depot exit is. You can see up in the north corner there. That's the Guard City Great Northern depot. All the commuter trains out of GSG and Bartholomew Square run from that depot. And then you can see the high-speed lines emerging as well just after Plintbridge. So we're going to sit here for a couple of minutes. We'll depart again shortly. I think in future, when I add new services to these franchises, instead of just releasing all the trains in one go, I should release them periodically. Or at least each service release that one periodically. So don't just release 6 services at the same time. Do one, wait for it to cycle through, then do the next one, wait for it to cycle through. It adds more time to the process, but it reduces the risk of it all going wrong. Because then you can analyze for each one if it's conflicting with other services or not. Alright, here we go again, heading north. So we're running on the the down slow. There's also a down branch, which is to the left. At this point, the Guard City Great Northern route is split into 6 tracks instead of 4. So you've technically got 2 slow lines in each direction, then you've got the 2 fast lines in the middle. So all freight trains and all stopper services use the outermost tracks. Slow trains that stop more infrequently use the inner slow tracks. And then the fast trains use the absolute inner tracks. My throat's getting really sore. I'm struggling to talk now. This is one of the reasons why the stream's going to be ending soon. My voice tomorrow is going to be absolutely shot. I'm glad I've not got much to do between now and Monday. There's a Gunway Brewery we've just gone past, which is a outer line platform station only. Here we've got Gunway Bridge, where we connect with the cross city line. So we will stop here. As you can see, there's 4 platforms, 1 for each slow line. Fast trains just run through without stopping. There might be a fast train that goes past us in a second, because the Puntingford Express, they use the commuter platforms, but they run on the fast lines. They literally run non-stop between Guard City, St George and the airport. So we're going to stop here for a couple of minutes again. There was a really dumb thing my council did a few years ago. You tell me your one, and then I'll tell you a dumb thing my council did as well. So I'll tell you what dumb thing they did, but the devil's advocate side of it as well as to why they did it. Oh, we're buffering again. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming, and yet I'm not dropping any frames. So that was Gunway Bridge we've just left. Yeah, I'm not dropping any frames. I don't know what's going on there. Flat Bridge we're just about to go past, where again it's outer platforms only. My stream is really struggling now. Well, no, we might be back. We might be okay. There's a Guard City Connect train that we've just passed. So Guard City Connect, the ones that exist at the moment, there are going to be some that will be semi-fast, but the ones currently are all stoppers. So they stop at every single station along the route, and there are a lot of them. Believe me, I know. This is Donborough. This is where the Capital Line branches off again, and loops round up towards Honningville via some of the smaller towns. The main route curves off to the west in an arguably more roundabout route, actually. The Capital Line is more direct, but it's got a slower line speed, because, you know, I didn't realise it was more direct until afterwards. And it's too late to swap them now. Yeah, we'll stop here again for a couple of minutes, and then we'll continue. This station was very much based on Alexandra Palace, which is where the Hertford Loop line splits from the East Coast Main Line. Prior to 2014, there used to be Grimsby bus stations serving Greater Grimsby, Cleethorpes and North East Lincolnshire, right outside of Freshney Place. Then in 2014 they closed the site because they planned to build a cinema. They replaced it with shops spread out around the town. Oh, stops, sorry, spread out around the town. It was planned to be built by 2016. I'm guessing it hasn't been finished. Alright, departing Donborough. This is the first sort of big crossover. I mean, there's one just south of Donborough as well, I suppose. So the Donborough South and Donborough North junctions, where you can switch from the slow lines to the fast lines. There is a service that does do that. I think it's a Narfingburg Springs one. Since you're talking about buses, I'll tell you 2 stupid things my council have done. coming up towards Tunfing Bridge, not to be confused with Tenfing Bridge, which is on the West Winds line. And again, some of these names sound quite familiar, but if you look in real life in the UK, you've got so many town names that are either similar or identical all around the country. There's a Pontefract in Yorkshire, and I believe there's one in Wales as well. There's a Bangor in Wales and a Bangor in, is it Ireland or Northern Ireland? I think it's Northern Ireland. However, problems with power cables caused delays, and in December 2019 it was announced the cinema would not be built, and you'll never guess what's going there now after spending £6 million on nothing. I'm going to guess a bus station. At least they're fixing their mistake. This sounds like Stevenage when they had their new North Stand built. It's built now, it's finished, it's great. There's a really nice bar inside and everything, but we had a power cabinet on the site, and for a year we couldn't build the stand because the council owned the land that the stadium sits on, but UK Power claimed they owned that little box of land that the cabinet sat on, even though they technically didn't. It still belonged to the council, but they had it was something back in the 50s or the 60s. They had like an access right, which meant they owned the land for that time, and even though that right expired, they still had the claim to it. It's really weird how it happened, but it's all fixed now. They moved the power cabinet, we built the North Stand, and it's going to be really, really nice in the National League next year after we get relegated. Haha, football joke. I'll tell you the stupid thing my council have done then. So on my street, when I was a kid, like every other house had a tree outside. There's a little grass verge between the pathway and the road, and I think it might have been every third house actually had a tree outside. So our house didn't, but the house next door to us did, and then 3 doors down from them they had a tree. And about 10 years ago, the council took all of the trees on our street out. They dug them all out, which was highly controversial at the time. And then 2 years after that, so about 8 years ago, they planted all new trees in slightly different locations along the street, which sounds dumb, but the reason they did it was the old tree roots were starting to cause problems to the water pipes and the electrics that ran under the street. And also the path was getting cracked and it was starting to affect the road. So the easiest way to fix that is to take the old trees out, put some systems in place to control the root growth, and then put new trees in. That's why they did that. So it seems like a dumb thing to do, to take a whole load of trees out just to put a whole load of trees in. Before I finish that story, this is Chunnington Station. This is where the branch to the airport diverges. There's 2 ways to go to Punfingford Airport. You can either go along the main route, which we're going to do in a second, or you can branch off here, which is what the Express and the Guard City Connect trains do. Although I am tempted to divert the Guard City Connect trains into the other platforms at Punfingford, but we'll see about that in the future. There's also the Punfingford shuttle that you can see sitting in the platform here. So this is T3. Sorry, this is T2. This is T1, and this is T3. So different airlines, if you come on and run your own airline, you'll run from one of these terminals, depending on which one. How much you pledge on Patreon, basically, is how big your franchise or airline will be, and which terminal you'll be assigned. So we're going to leave here. I think we're going to skip through Great Barnville, so the next stop is Punfingford Airport T1. But yeah, they removed all the trees on our street and replaced them with new trees. So they're still growing now, those trees. They're still pretty small. But another new problem is a lot of people are getting driveways put in on our side of the street now. So a lot of these trees are now having to be taken out again so these driveways can go in. It's not the smartest move. But the real dumb move to do with buses. Our university has a nightclub called the Forum. I say our university, I graduated 2 years ago. I still go back there to do networking and stuff. This is Punfingford T1 main station that we're coming into now. So you can see how there's 2 different stations. Actually, T3 has 2 different stations as well, which which you'll see in a second. But yeah, the University of Hertfordshire has the Forum nightclub, which opened. There used to be a Forum in Hatfield Town Centre by the swimming pool. That closed. The new one, which is at the uni, opened in 2009. Before 2009, there was a new bus station built. There's a big shopping centre near us called the Cavier. There was a new bus station built opposite that, across the road. So they built a new Travelodge hotel and they built a bus station underneath it. And there's like a parade of shops in front of it, which are listed buildings, so they couldn't be removed. So they've got like flats and stuff above these shops. So it's like a Art Deco style run of shops, which I think looks quite ugly myself, but they can't remove them because they're listed buildings. And then directly behind that, you've got this hotel on stilts with a bus station underneath it, which was fine for about a year. They built it in 2008. Maybe 2007. It was open for about somewhere between 1 and 2 years, this bus station. And then in 2009, the uni opened the Forum, and directly outside the Forum is a massive new bus station. And our uni, University of Hertfordshire, own Uno, which is the local bus company. So they built a new depot out in the old business park, and then they built this new bus station at the Forum, which meant the old one, under this hotel, is no longer needed. So they built this new bus station under a hotel and then closed it like 2 years later. And it's just sat there ever since because they can't really use it for anything. I think personally they could convert it into a car park or something, but they've not. They've left it as a bus station. So that's a bit of a waste of money. It's just really dark and dank under there as well. It's not particularly inviting. So I think they could do something with that. I don't know whether they could convert it into part of the hotel, or whether it's too late for that, but they could certainly use it for hotel parking. But yeah, it's just an empty husk of what used to be a bus station. Which is a bit dumb, but what can you do? Right, I think we sit here at Punfingford for 5 minutes. So, talk amongst yourselves whilst I just check what the departure time is. 21:11. So yeah, we got 3 more minutes here. And then the next stop is Honingville, where again I think we sit for 5 minutes. So again, does anyone have any ideas for how to upgrade all this in the future? I'd like another east to west route that runs somewhere near here. But I'm not too sure on that right now. So like here for example at Eddingbourne, we can have a line that comes along here and connects up with the slow lines either side here, runs along, and then where it diverges again to run through Great Barnville, have it branch off again and then continue to the east. Cross over, this is the capital line here. You can see what I mean by it's a more direct route. It literally runs north to south. There's Don'tborough, and Honingville is just up here, so it does kind of diverge a little bit to go around this. But yeah, we could have a route that kind of cuts across here and then continues to the east. Might have to go round one of these hills, but there's some stuff here. Connect up with the North Valleys line, which is over here. And Warnbridge, our destination, is up here. Is there any trains in our way? Doesn't look like it. So this was backed up at one point, but it seems to have fixed itself now. Yeah, we got 1 more minute until we depart. I've been streaming for almost 3 hours now. They also spent money on Freeman Street redevelopment, formerly a major shopping area, and declined rapidly in the 90s, and now has a lot of rundown buildings as well as half demolished buildings. It's one of those unfortunate things. All town centres are like that now. They need to. There's for the longest time there's been plans to redevelop our town centre, and it just never gets the funding. At one point they were going to build a new street called Cappuccino Row, which looked quite cool. It was like a whole street of coffee shops and bistros and things like that, and it just never got built. It might happen now though. There's more of a push these days. Our area is rapidly growing, so there's lots of new people moving in, which means there's lots of demand for those sorts of things. We don't really have anchor stores in our town. We got an Asda at one end, and that's it. Nothing else. No other big... No, I don't think there's any other big things. So all the other supermarkets near here are out of town. Alright, I think we go through here. Yeah, we don't stop. We just use it as a waypoint to speed up. So, Sindwood Industrial Park, you can just see it emerging in the top left corner of your screen there. That's where a lot of the minerals get taken to, so coal, iron ore, what else? Scrap metal, that all gets taken there. I think there's like a lumber trade there as well. There's lots of different industries that I've placed there, which will all get connected up at some point. But it's a good place where raw materials get dumped and other materials get manufactured. We're going to stop here at Keybourne Cross. This connects with the North Valley line, which you can see running over the top, which looks very nice, very lovely. There is a lot of redevelopment around. Yeah, you'll always see that. You'll always see that. When I went to school, my primary school, there was a box factory, cardboard box factory next to my school. And about halfway through my time there, it got knocked down. And now it's a massive residential estate. It pretty much doubled the size of the town. And since that was built, even that area has now doubled in size. The old aerospace factory. For those who don't know, de Havilland, the world's first jet airline, and DH Comet. I keep calling it the DC Comet. It's not. It's the DH Comet, de Havilland Comet. That was built here. It was built at the aerospace site here. And all of that now is business park. So there's a gym in the old hangar. But there's a lot of the old buildings have sort of been kept and turned into new things. Our police station is what used to be the old design offices. There's an old gatehouse to the site, which is now a KFC. You know, you upcycle, you make use of what you got. One is for a retail park on the outskirts of what used to be Ramsden's. Used to have two within 1 mile of each. Oh, Harry Ramsden's. I used to love going there. It's part of the Great Grimsby Town deal. It's good though. I mean, as a Stevenage fan, we don't really like Grimsby much. There's a lot of chants about Grimsby being not a very nice place to go to, even though technically Grimsby Town are based in Cleethorpes and not Grimsby. Do we stop here at Sindwood? No, we don't. So Sindwood Industrial Park is actually closer to Keybourne Cross, and yet it's Sindwood. I don't know. It is what it is. But we're going to stop here at Honingville. This is where the Capital Line joins from the southeast and then also diverts to the northwest up towards Narfingburg Springs, which then technically loops around and joins up with one route into GSE. It also connects up to the North Valleys line, which heads towards Sunnington. So there's lots of connections you can make here as well. These bay platforms are part of the Northwest Rail routes. They will connect up to, again, Sunnington to Honingville will probably use those platforms, but also trains that run from Honingville to places like Beffing Way and Nut Hill City Centre. They'll all use the platforms, the bay platforms here at Honingville. There are plans to move the stadium to Freeman Street. I don't know where that is. That's the thing. Even around my local area, people use street names, and I'm like, where's that? I tend to know things by directions, like turn left at the roundabout, go right here. I never really learn street names. It's really bad. I do find it bad, though, that Grimsby Town isn't even in Grimsby. It's a bit like Manchester United isn't even in Manchester. Old Trafford's in Salford. They're Salford United. Yeah, I think we're going to be stopped here for 3 minutes as well. I might cut this journey a little bit short, just so I can show you some of the other routes. So here we've got, this is the freight depot here, so trains that come out of Sindwood and also Guard City North, they use this depot here. Narfingburg Springs is here. It's currently 3 platforms. I might change it into 4 platforms and have 2 bay platforms in the center. We'll see about that. Same on this side. There'll be a service from Sunnington or GSE that will terminate here. This line, the reason it's electrified and joins up with this one is because this route here goes down towards Guard City St. Elizabeth. This is part of the West Winds commuter lines. This route here, though, this is the North Valleys line, which serves quite a lot of communities here. And it is basically in a valley at this point. The bit I like the most is this. Look at that. Magnificent viaduct. I'll be honest, George, I've never been to Grimsby. So I don't know anything in Grimsby. Yeah, this viaduct is impressive. This is also where the route to... Yeah, this is Mewood. So you've got Mewood North, Mewood South. And this is Sunnington up here. There is, however... I mean, that viaduct is impressive. But, inspired by Digswell Viaduct, which is on the East Coast main line. If I keep going this way... Oh yeah, we've got the Blue Lagoon route as well. Forgot about that. We need to set this up on scheduled dispatch. Stadium can't be used for anything other than football because it doesn't meet modern standards. I think that's fair. It is a football stadium after all. You can hold... I mean, Stevenage had boxing at our stadium during the summer. But predominantly... That's what I don't like about Spurs' new stadium. It was built for NFL, really. And then they thought, oh, I suppose we should probably put a football pitch there as well. They got it the wrong way around. How have you got no power? I don't get that. You're a steam engine. It must be because it's not narrow gauge. I think this has to be narrow gauge. Do we have narrow gauge still? I've got dual gauge, so I must have narrow gauge. Yeah, there it is. Does it look different to this? Oh wow, yes. Very different. So we'll have to convert the Blue Lagoon line then. This is just a little tourist heritage railway that connects up a couple of towns. It doesn't actually connect these two stations, they are separate. But like Kidderminster, you got Kidderminster and Kidderminster Town. This will connect though, there will be a new set of platforms built here to connect this up. This is Fuwood Blue Lagoon. Now the Blue Lagoon route used to actually go this way around. I think somewhere you can still see, maybe not here. You used to be able to still see the original route, but now I've changed it. So there's another one over here, Blue Lagoon, which is what, you know, this is the Blue Lagoon here, which is what the railway is named after. There'll be a pier here, so you'll be able to catch like a steamer from there. And then it connects up to here at St. Halter. But if we keep going this way, go through Honningville. This is the Great Northern route still here. Goes up here to Warnbridge, which is currently the limit for all trains. There is this line here, which will need to be built in the future. I don't know what I'm going to do with it though. Because when at the time I thought, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we had a little metro train that ran through here? But there's nowhere for it to go to. So it's a bit of a white elephant, really. And then, yeah, the North Valleys line continues down this way and eventually connects up to Beffing Way. But we'll follow the main route for now, because the bit I want to show you is this. This is inspired by the Digswell Viaduct, just north of Welwyn Garden City Station. It's a very, very impressive structure. It is a bottleneck, though, because as you can see, it's only 2-track. And then this used to curve round and go through Sunford and then Fenningston, and then it would come down this way to Pradston Bay. That was the name of the station I was trying to remember. And then it would connect up with Walden Bridge. Whereas now, it runs through here, through Huntingwell Ridge, which is based on Welwyn North, which is a real station on the East Coast Main Line, and then it turns back into 4 tracks and goes down to Walden Bridge. This will be repurposed, this route through Pradston Bay, as part of the route that I was talking about earlier, that George suggested last week. So it will come down this way. I think it goes through Little Slunwood or Foodtown, one of the two, and connects up with this. This is one branch. North West Rail again will serve most of this. And then if we keep following this, this is the North Valleys line again, as you can see. And we keep following this along. We've got Ludhead Cross as well. You can see the two lines, they're starting to come back together. There's another branch line somewhere, I thought. Maybe it's before Beffing Way. But here's Beffing Way, which was rebuilt a little while ago now, actually. Based on a design that was submitted on Discord, I think it was. And this is one of the main hubs of the north, sort of northeast, northwest. So this is kind of the boundary between Northwest Rail and Northeast Rail, so certain trains will terminate depending on where they're going. And then we follow the Grand Northern Route, as it's now known. There's another branch here that goes up to Frondham. There's another junction here at Chadborough with another branch that runs up this way towards New Trunbourne. And then this goes down towards Nut Hill City Centre via Grundhead Apollonia, which is also an airport now. So again, you might have that. I was about to say, well, there are passages here, but this is where the junction to the Bar City route is, and also the high-speed depot is here as well. And there's a route that runs through here. This was built a couple of weeks ago. This connects up down to the East Coast and places like that. And then if we keep going this way, there's the North Metro here, which will become part of Northeast Trains. I think I'll just make this a junction and have this all be electrified and have it as just part of the regular main network rather than have it as part of its own metro. It might come underneath North Metro still, but be integrated in. And you can see there's a branch up here as well that goes to Rafingford with another triangular junction. If we keep following the line, it goes back to 4 tracks here because there's another branch up here that goes up to Bronston. But yeah, if we keep following this all the way up, Gronwell Superior, which is a major high-speed station right up in the northeast corner, as you can see. And then there's a huge number of platforms here because this is also the northern terminus of the East Coast Main Line. So there's a big interchange, basically. And there's a nice depot here that we built a while ago. Flinttown MPD. That was like 3-4 weeks ago now, I think we built that. And then it's the East Coast as well as the high-speed line running right alongside it. And we could follow this all the way down if we wanted to. All the way down to the bottom. But one thing I do want to show you before we wrap things up is Bar City. So we've got the Bar City. This is Greater Bar City, this huge like box area here. Got Bar City Central, which is going to get rebuilt in the future to make it a little bit bigger. We've got Bar City Senningbury, we've got Bar City Hardham, we've got Bar City Rinfingley Airport, Bar City Fort Drunford. Wow, these places are huge now. This used to be tiny. Bar City Tarnley, and then we've got Faungate. I think we've also got, is it Brookside? Yeah, Brookside over here, and then there's another gate. Sargate, that was the other one. They're part of the Patreon tier rewards that someone had. I think it was George. It was you, George, wasn't it? So they were named because of that. Then we got Bar City Bruntberg Airport over here. So Bar City is built to a different set of blueprints to Guard City. Guard City is very much like the London style of everything's a terminus, whereas Bar City is more sort of mainland Europe, where there's more through stations. Like Berlin's main station is a through station. Same with Amsterdam, same with Rotterdam, same with Brussels. They're not big terminus stations, although Paris is kind of similar to London in that respect. But most of the cities have these big through stations, even if they're relatively modern builds. Then if we follow this up, we've got Woonington Tranquility, which is another huge major interchange. The East Coast route actually connects, or a branch of the East Coast route will connect to here. But this we're following now, this is the Bar City commuter belt. So we've got this huge depot that we built, Lake Vista MPD, which is where most of the Bar City commuter trains will originate from. And if we follow this route all the way to the north, we go through Swanford Supernova. This is quite unique in that the high-speed trains actually share tracks with the conventional rail at this point, which is why we've got this weird mix of tracks. And it's here at Fort Bredborough Celestial Airport. I realise I'm opening these windows, you can't see them because they're behind the logo. It's mainly so I can remember the name. But again, if you're a Patreon supporter, I might upgrade this airport, make it a little bit bigger. But you'll be able to run your own airline out of here if you so wish. I don't know how I'm going to run the system yet, because I don't know if I'm going to make it so that you can either have a franchise for rail, road, air or sea, or whether you can have one of each. Because I really want as many people to support me on Patreon as possible. And one way to do that is to have, you can either have a rail franchise or a bus franchise. Because I think if we have one person with all 4, it can get very messy very quickly. So I might have to work on that. Right now, though, I'm tempted just to say you can have one of, and that's it. But yeah, the high speed splits off here and runs on its own designated tracks again. but the commuter belt continues. This is also the rapid transit, which I've not really mentioned much because it's a bit anachronistic right now, because the network is set in the late 80s, early 90s, and rapid transit did exist back then, but not to the scope that we're actually going to have here. You know, this is 350-mile-an-hour trains, and those just didn't exist back then. They technically don't really exist now, because most of the testing hasn't really gone anywhere. It's very expensive, rapid transit. But yeah, the commuter belt continues this way. And we run up to another interchange station over here, which is Kingston. This is where some of the lines from Nut Hill and also from the East Coast also join up over here. So we've got a nice big sort of mix of everything. Follow the commuter belt. And again, another line from Nut Hill and from Beffing Way joins up. Wantford is the big sort of interchange station for that. Keep following the commuter belt. And we come to Brainingly Market, which is another huge interchange. This will connect up to the East Coast. In fact, it sort of already does. It starts to. This will continue up towards Gronwell. There'll be a big triangle that connects it to the East Coast. This line, I can't remember what we said we were going to do with this one, but it will connect to something. But this one is still the commuter belt. There's another line from... oh yeah, this is the one that goes up towards Beffingway. And then it diverges there and heads towards Great Slunnington, which connects up with the East Coast and other lines like that. In fact, Great Slunnington, I believe, is on the East Coast. And if we keep following this, we connect up with the high speed again here at Wenningpool, Acidalia. And I think, if I zoom out and head back towards Guard City, I think that's about where we're going to wrap things up. I didn't really cover much of the South Coast, because there's not much there to cover at the moment. It's a little bit quiet down there. We don't have any trains running or anything. But we'll do another network overview in the not too distant future. Maybe episode 75 we'll do another one, revisit some of the stuff, because hopefully in 25 episodes we'll have added lots more trains. But yeah, I did ask you guys to leave suggestions for future episodes, and no one has done that, so I'm a little bit, you know, same as always. I ask you guys to get involved, be interactive, and the reason I do that is because I want you all to have your say. I want you all to be able to point at parts of the network and say I helped make that a reality. But ultimately it is up to you. If you don't want to be involved, if you just want to sit there and ignore me, then that's your prerogative. But don't get upset in the future if I decide to no longer make this series interactive, because you've all had your chance. You've had 2 years worth of chances to have your say, and these days you just don't anymore. So I'll take that as a hint. So this series going back to videos will actually benefit me in many ways, because it means I'm in a position where I'm no longer just sitting here listening to silence when I'm asking for people's inputs. If you do, after this, have suggestions, you can still leave them. The Discord is the best place. If you've got pictures and videos that are too big for Discord, you can post them on the Reddit community. The link to both is in the description. But I'm always open to new suggestions and ideas. It's not a completely closed book, despite what I've just said. I am always willing to have people have their say. And you can also comment down below this video as well if you only have YouTube. If you don't have Discord or Reddit for whatever reason, that's fine. You can use the comments section for that. It is what it's there for at the end of the day. But yeah, I'm going to wrap things up, just staring at GSJ and how it's all gone wrong. I will sort this all out. I'll do the HLR first as a test bed and see if that works, and if it does, I'll roll it out to the rest of the network. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Episode 50 is done. Tick that off. We had a lot of problems, technical problems with the stream, but fingers crossed the next time I do decide to stream, it should be better next time, actually, because the next thing I think I'll be streaming is the racing series, and I think I might use my capture card for that and stream from my old PC via the capture card from my new PC. So both computers will be doing only half the work, which means they should be able to use their full power to do one of those jobs. So it should be a lot easier, but we'll see. And that will hopefully be up on YouTube and Twitch if it all works. So that'll be the next stream you'll see from me, and that'll probably be in 2 to 3 weeks time. I think it's the end of the month we agreed that we will start doing it. So yeah, if you want to get involved in that, if you've got GTA 5 on PC, feel free to put your name down. You can go on to Discord and state your interest. You'll get asked to purchase some cards in the game and upgrade them in certain ways. It might all look a little bit intense, but it's for basically it's in the interest of fairness. It's to make sure everyone's on the same level playing field, basically. But yeah, thanks guys for coming in and watching. Thank you to George, to Ben, to Frank, to Andy, and to Tom. He was here as well. Dylan was here very briefly. He's probably still here, just not chatting. Eva as well, thank you for coming in. We had a lot of chat tonight. I do appreciate that, because I know, again, technical issues do drive people away, but I do appreciate you guys coming out and continuing to support. Trust me, it does mean a lot. As I say, when you're a content creator, you do live quite an isolated life a lot of the time. So when you get these opportunities to sort of open the doors up and let people in, it's always appreciated when people actually come in and say hi and things like that. But yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, and of course if you've enjoyed the series so far, be sure to hit the like button. Like I said, it'll be going back to videos from now on, but don't feel like that's the end of the series. It's the start of a new beginning, basically. There's plenty more to come from the M4J network. But yeah, beyond that, if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, be sure to do so. If you have already done that, thank you guys for your continued support. Be sure to drop some comments down below as well, and check out the Discord and the Reddit for you know, if you have any suggestions or if you just want to get involved in the chat. Do use the Discord for chat. Don't just feel like you can only interact with me. If you want to talk amongst yourselves as well, that's absolutely fine. If you see someone post something and you have a good response to it, respond to it. You know, it's what it's there for. It's not just about chatting to me, it's about chatting with everybody. So feel free to do that as well. But yeah, thanks for watching guys, and until next week with the first video, I will see you soon.